6 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. A lot of news breaking this morning as you are waking up. The president of Iran, from the Wall Street Journal reporting here, Iranian president, foreign minister killed in helicopter crash. Supreme leader Al-Khamenei announces successors for the two senior positions as condolences stream in, and some inside Iran express jubilation. Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi was killed in a helicopter crash on Sunday, depriving Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei of a longtime ally as Tehran angles for regional dominance through armed militias that are fighting the U.S. and Israel. Raisi's death was announced early Monday after state television reported Sunday afternoon that a helicopter carrying him and the foreign minister had made a, quote, difficult landing, unquote, in northwestern Iran. Hours after Raisi's death was confirmed, Khomeini announced 5 days of national mourning and appointed Mohammed Mokhbar, first vice president, as the new head of the executive branch.
This is crazy. Now, I don't know much about Mokhbar at all. The thing was, I was watching yesterday some of the coverage, and they're flying a helicopter to foggy mountains. It's a bad idea. It's a really, really bad idea to fly helicopters
like the Kobe Bryant
into.
issue.
It's exactly it. It's all based on visibility. That's the problem. You don't fly helicopters into fog.
Right.
It's just kind of a basic rule. So this is a bad decision based on whoever decided to go ahead. It's just visibility issues, and helicopters are very difficult based on physics to begin with. I mean, the entire engine is trying to rip itself apart.
Yeah.
So it should not work the way that it does, and the blades and everything else. It's a questionable mode of transportation. One of my favorites. I think it's fantastic. It's a very
Have you
questionable.
ridden in helicopters before?
Yeah, quite a few, and it's even did the Garden of the Gods tour. Did tours of Colorado Springs during Christmas lights. They're a lot of fun. I think they're fantastic. They're scary as hell, just because of how they work. So bad idea. If the weather is perfect and conditions are perfect, it is still questionable in a helicopter. And you get into bad conditions, you're asking for problems. You're really asking for problems, mostly because it's visibility issues. Yeah.
Under Iran's constitution, new presidential elections are required to take place within 50 days. And Iranian officials said Monday that the new president would get a full 4-year term rather than serving out the remainder of Raisi's mandate, which was due to end in 2025. Iran's neighbors and allies sent condolences to Tehran, including Russian President Vladimir Putin, Chinese leader Xi Jinping, Turkish presidents, Lebanon, Iraq, and Pakistan declared periods of mourning. This is a big deal because Iran's actively in war right now.
Yeah.
They sent all the drones against Israel.
Yeah, this is a big
the
deal.
President died.
And there's going to be a lot of conspiracy theories about Israel being involved in this. And who knows how much traction those get. And my guess would be, if the Iranian government feels they can get traction and use those conspiracy theories for whatever reason, they're going to lean into them. But chances are Israel had nothing to do with this. But only because if they did, it probably would have been a much bigger explosion. Just guessing. I'm just guessing that it wouldn't have been just the helicopter going down like this, that they would have made more certain of the fact that the president would have died. And again, the president can be replaced. So I question whether or not Israel would be involved in something like this, because it really is the religious leaders inside of the state of Iran that control everything. So the president is just, in many ways, sometimes just a figurehead for what they need to do. So it's not necessarily like you're cutting off the head of the snake. I mean, you're not cutting off the head of the hydra at all. So I don't know.
That would be the supreme leader.
Yeah.
Al-Khamenei.
Yeah. That's the guy that you'd have to take out.
And he's been around since the Reagan days, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'd have to go back and look. Yeah, I'm not that up on my Iran history. Haven't been studying lately. So, yeah.
Other breaking news, New York Times reporting 30 minutes ago, International Criminal Court prosecutor requests warrants for Netanyahu and Hamas leaders. The ICC prosecutor requests warrants for Hamas leaders and Netanyahu. That's interesting. Both of them.
Yeah.
The International Criminal Court prosecutor Karim Khan said Monday that he has requested arrest warrants for the leaders of Hamas and for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel for war crimes and crimes against humanity in relation to the October 7th attack and the war in Gaza. In a statement, Mr. Khan said that he was applying for arrest warrants for leaders of Hamas as well. He also said he was requesting warrants for Israel's defense minister. While Mr. Khan's request must still be approved by judges from the court, the announcement is a blow to the government for Mr. Netanyahu and will likely fuel international criticism of Israel's strategy in its 7-month campaign against Hamas and the war's toll on Gaza's civilian population. There was no immediate response from the Israeli government or from Hamas. We talked about this in a previous show.
Yeah.
So basically, the International Criminal Court, the ICC, was created years ago to deal with like genocide, right? How do you prosecute genocide in another country if you're, a separate country? So they created the ICC. Now, Israel has never joined the ICC, and neither has the United States because of the fact that they don't want to give another entity jurisdictional power over their countries. So they've always kept them at arm's length. But the problem is, one, as they mentioned in this article, now propagandists can run around and go, Israel's in violation of the International Criminal Court for human rights violations. And every dope down on the Aurora campus and DU campus protesting this will now have signs about it. So you get that. But then secondly, if Benjamin Netanyahu was to land in a country that is a member of the ICC or the head of the defense minister in Israel, then you end up possibly with them getting arrested. So this is big deal. It seems this news breaking Monday morning, the death of the president of Iran in a helicopter crash, now the potential indictments of Israel by the ICC as well as Hamas. This thing just seems to continue to escalate and grow. So you need to continue to pray for the peace of Israel and the peace of Jerusalem, as the Bible asks us to do. I want to also switch gears here, and we'll get into the Trump updates now. Wall Street Journal giving a good overview of where we are now. It is likely that we'll continue to see some cross-examination of Michael Cohen today. As Trump's back in court, but this thing is turning the corner. If you ever ran track, this feeling, especially if you've done a few laps of turning the corner and then seeing the straightaway and this thing possibly coming to an end. Here's the Wall Street Journal over the weekend. A Trump conviction depends on proving more than a hush money cover-up. Prosecution case hangs on alleged second crime that hasn't been spelled out for the jury. This, again, according to the Wall Street Journal. Manhattan prosecutors have framed their case against Donald Trump as a simple story about the criminal cover-up of a sex scandal. But to win a conviction, they would have to convince jurors that Trump orchestrated the cover-up with the intent of concealing another crime. Jury deliberations in the first criminal trial of a former U.S. president could begin as early as this week. Closing arguments will be the prosecution's last chance to spell out an alleged second crime and convince jurors that Trump intended to commit it. This isn't a clean case. There are plenty of things that a juror could find reasonable doubt for, said Michael Scotto, a New York area defense lawyer and former longtime prosecutor. So far, the prosecution story goes like this. On the eve of the 2016 election, the adult film star Stormy Daniels threatened to go public about a sexual encounter she claims she had with Trump a decade earlier. Trump prosecutors allege directed his personal attorney, Michael Cohen, to buy her silence for $130,000. And after winning the election, Trump reimbursed Cohen in staggered payments, disguising the hush money as legal fees on his business ledger. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's indictment charged Trump with 34 felony counts for falsifying business records in the first degree. The former president denies the charges and alleges that the prosecution is politically motivated. The counts are essentially identical, one for every invoice, ledger entry, and check used to pay back Cohen. Falsifying business records is a felony in New York only if it's done to conceal or commit another crime. Bragg's indictment didn't say what the other crime was, and prosecutors still haven't identified the specific offense to jurors. Prosecutors have told the presiding judge that their primary argument is that Trump falsified records to cover up a misdemeanor state election crime. Cohen testified that Trump directed him to pay Daniels as part of a non-disclosure agreement that Cohen and Daniels' lawyer negotiated in October 2016. Prosecutors say that payment from Cohen's own pocket and approved by former president amounted to an illegal campaign contribution to Trump that violated federal election law because it was well over what was then the $2,700 limit on individual donations to a presidential candidate. And that, in turn, constituted a conspiracy under state election law. Trump, who hasn't ruled taking the stand this week, hasn't ruled it out, has publicly denied the affairs and earlier testified about the alleged sexual encounter and salacious details. But what really happened between the two is not a central legal issue. A conviction requires proof of Trump's criminal intent. That could mean proving that when Trump was in the White House and signing checks he made out to Cohen, he was intending to defraud the voting public. And it also means proving that Trump knew Cohen's arrangement with Daniels violated campaign finance rules, but approved it anyways. Some legal observers following the case have said the evidence of Trump's intent is thin. I'm really having a problem getting around who was intended to be defrauded by internal records that weren't used to anyone's advantage or disadvantage. So that's what you got this week.
Yeah,
that's the Trump update.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see on the redirect with Cohen today how they clean it up and if the prosecution's done. I know they've had some witnesses earlier on that do make the case based on election, and this should have been an election campaign contribution. This is why it's an issue. And then Trump tries to take it as a business deduction. And if the prosecution relays it that way and says this should have been paid for, this should have been claimed, this should have been done as a campaign, not his personal business, and his personal business can't write checks for what his campaign does, then they may have the crime. They may be able to get the jurors there. I understand why the Wall Street Journal is saying that it's this difficult, web to come to a conclusion. But if you draw it out that way and say Donald Trump is trying to cover up this payment by claiming it's a business expense when it really isn't, and that's illegal. That's a fairly direct statement. And if they can have enough evidence buttressing that up and holding it up, then you might get a conviction on it. I don't think it's necessarily as difficult as the Wall Street Journal is saying there. I think you can make the case. Now, do I think that it's a felony? No, not in the least. Not in the least. No. And that, to me, that's the hurdle they have to get over. Everyone's talking about, can they make the case? For me, the hurdle is, but is it a felony? When in all other cases, it's normally a misdemeanor. And that would be part of my defense, would be the fact that they're overcharging. They're overcharging. Yep. Everybody else gets charged for a misdemeanor and a fine. My client will pay the fine today. But this is not the correct solution for this crime. That's the defense on this one. But we'll see if it happens.
All right, let's check in on the news with Blake Olsen. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, guys. Hope you had a good weekend. It's 49 and clear outside in Denver. Expecting highs in the mid-70s today. The 710 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story.
Backpedals, jabs, slammed in. Reed parachutes in and jackhammers it down.
There won't be any victory parades downtown this summer. The world champion Nuggets blew a 20-point lead and lose to the. That was awful. Poor shooting by the Nuggets, and the Timberwolves took advantage. 98-90 in Game 7.
Yeah,
Western
it was bad shooting. It was absolutely horrible shooting. And someone at some point, and again, this might be on Michael Malone or someone else there, they need to remind the team that you can take shots from 5 to 12 feet away from basket. That's okay. We don't have to take them within 3 feet of the basket or 3-pointers. That was the only shot selection they had mostly in the second half. And that's a problem. It makes it incredibly easy to defend that.
It was all iron from beyond the arc. No doubt, 24% from 3-point range.
That's awful.
Yeah, and that's basically what killed him. And in the 7 o'clock hour, I'm going to break this down a little bit. But here's Michael Malone after the game.
How hard is it just to absorb a loss like this after going ahead by 20?
Next question, man. The season's over. That's what's hard. Being up 20. The season's over. You don't understand that. The season's over. It's hard. Stupid ass questions.
See, that's he drops an F-bomb. He knows he's on live on ESPN, and there are kids watching. I know I'm probably the only person in the city who's going to say this, but man, you can handle it better than that. You're not the first. You're not the first NBA coach who's lost I mean, I think this is the worst 20-point lead that's lost in the series, but and then they come back. But you're not the first coach who's disappointed after a playoff loss, and he drops an F-bomb, and then he went at the reporter. The reporter asked him 3 questions that the fans want to know, and he was rude to him. You could hear the T-Wolves in the background celebrating next door.
But again, I will defend Malone on this.
Yeah.
That is a stupid question. He's right.
See,
that is a dumb question.
No, I used to think it was a bad question, but unfortunately, you have to ask him, how did it feel to lose the 20-point lead, or what happened? He asked him.
You don't have to ask that.
No, not. There were 3 questions. We'll break it down later. In the
other 3. Yeah,
I want to break it down because I'm like, okay, Malone, I get it. You're angry. You're ticked. Everybody's ticked off, and you go at this guy. All he's at the poor guy probably makes $12,000 a year, and he's asking these questions. Everyone else is afraid to ask the question in the press conference room.
If he's making $12,000 a year, he's not earning his cash, because that's a stupid question. And here's the reason why.
Why is it a stupid question?
Because what do you think the answer is going to be?
Right.
The answer is going to be.
But you got to get you got to get the clips. You got to get the sound clips.
You have to hear it out of his mouth.
No, that is a stupid. Nope, it's a stupid question. Nope. Here's the reason why.
What would be?
Here's the reason. Question. That is a base level, first grade sports reporter question.
They're all first grade.
I didn't say they were all good questions. I'm saying the vast majority of them are stupid questions.
So
and he's right about it.
What would you have asked?
This is it. What were when the 20-point lead was evaporating, what were the adjustments you made, and what do you think you could have done to prevent that type of a deficit?
He basically asked that.
No, he didn't. I know before it, yes, but the idea of how does it feel? I mean, come on. That is such a stupid question. What do you? And the answer is going to be, it feels awful. I mean, come on.
And guess what? You get paid a lot of money, and if I'm a coach, you look and you say, it feels horrible. Here's the answer. Here's the answer, Coach Malone. Here's the answer. Here's what he should have done, Billy. Okay.
Yeah.
It feels horrible. Okay. You lose a game 7 in front of your home crowd. You just won a world championship. You're the favorites. You have momentum. You're up by 20. It feels horrible.
Okay.
I can hear the T-Wolves celebrating next door.
Question
I have. The worst. But what he did, he said, you don't understand.
Here's the question.
You don't understand that.
Here's the question I have.
Stupid ass.
Yeah, it is here's a stupid ass question.
And this is coming from someone who loves Bobby Knight. I love Bobby Knight.
It is a stupid question, because the purpose of the reporters when they are sitting there is to get insight into the understanding of the game from both the players and the coach. Everybody in that room, everybody in North America knows Mike Malone's answer when that question is asked. Don't ask the question. If everybody already knows the answer, it's a stupid question. Don't ask it.
If he doesn't ask
the clips,
everyone will say, why didn't you ask?
It's because you don't ask it because it's a stupid question. Your job is to provide insight and understanding. That does neither.
Oh, he did that. He asked 2 questions.
I know.
He could have elaborated on that would have given insight.
Yeah, he could have. The other 2 questions are fine. That one's stupid. I'm not judging him wholly for every question he asks. That question's stupid and should not have been asked. It is a waste of time to ask that question. If I'm on that,
Speaking of a waste of time.
it is. We are wasting time here. But if I'm a sports director if I'm a sports director at that station, I'm smacking that reporter and saying, "You've got how much time to ask a question, and that's what you waste your time with."
Yeah, but
you waste your time with that.
Good questions.
I know,
right
but
before.
he had a chance to ask a third good question. And he wasted his moment. You get so few questions as a reporter.
Malone has to be bigger than that, man. You're setting an example for kids. It was on live in my living room.
I don't agree with him dropping
If
F-bomb.
my boys were in 3rd or 4th grade and they heard him drop an F-bomb like that,
I don't agree with the language.
Man.
I don't agree with the language.
Yeah,
but he's right. The question's stupid.
And
the question is just flat out stupid.
I mean, he does some stupid stuff too. Like at the parade, he looked like an idiot.
Oh yeah.
So he was drunk up there. I do a lot of stupid stuff too, like not calling a timeout. I think it was
absolutely
6 minutes left. So anyway.
and there's the question. There's another question. Why didn't you? Why didn't you want to stop the momentum there? Why did you allow him to get going? Those are questions that provide insight and decision making. Not how do you feel when you lost? What do you think he's going to say? Come on. Ask something above a first grade question.
We all know, but
you need the clips, man. You need the clips for the news.
The good clips are the ones that provide insight, not the ones that answer stuff I already know.
Every post-game interview on network TV, when the sideline reporter asks it, I mean, you're going to hear it.
Sideline reporters are stupid. They're worthless.
I agree.
They can't ask. They can't ask it. Don't get me started on sideline reporter questions. Now I don't know yours, Blake, so I can't. So I will give you grace there. I don't know, but sideline reporter questions are stupid. Ridiculously dumb.
I wanted to ask better questions, but I had to ask stupid ones.
All
right, so I'll try to shorten this up. I'm sorry, guys. The second highest ranking official in Iran is dead following the helicopter crash Sunday. As Jeff and Billy were talking about, Iran state media confirming the death of Ebrahim Raisi, that is, and 8 others, including Iran's foreign minister. There's no evidence of foul play. Michael Cohen is expected to be back on the witness stand today, and former President Trump's campaign derailment trial, which is nearing an end, and Trump in Minnesota over the weekend. Classic.
This is the worst platform. Who put this stage up here? This is the worst. The freaking place is falling down. I notice it keeps tilting further left. Like too many other things.
Cleanup efforts underway after Hamas supporters trashed the Auraria campus. The tents and demonstrators are gone from the Tivoli Quad, but a mess remains, and crews are working to restore the area to its former state. The long-lived demonstrations created havoc and resulted in 80 arrests over the course of 3 weeks. The final cost of the cleanup and the extent of the damage isn't yet known. What lefties do best, they leave a mess. A death investigation ongoing following the discovery of a body near downtown Denver. First responders initially responded to a water rescue. However, authorities found a man's body floating in the South Platte River. When they arrived at the scene, investigators haven't said if foul play is suspected, and the man's identity hasn't been released. A climber was rescued after he fell 60 feet off a cliff near Loveland Saturday. The Loveland Fire and Rescue Authority says the first responders were called to the scene near Glade Road at around 8:30 in the morning, and the rescue took about 3 hours to complete. The climber was removed from the area and flown to a hospital. There's no word on the severity of his injuries. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com. It's 44 in Boulder, 46 in Littleton, 49 in Denver. Rockies swept out west. Colorado lost to the Giants 4-1 in the finale of a 3-game series at Oracle Park, and Oakland, the A's, are next up for the Rockies. Jeff and Bill continue. It's Monday. Good morning. Blake Olsen, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Here's your 710 5-day forecast. Temperatures reaching the 70s today with afternoon showers and thunderstorms likely, with some showers and thunderstorms lingering through late evening and early tonight. A few could be strong. Low 70s today, mid 40s tonight. Noticeably cooler Tuesday. Highs only low 60s with showers and a few thunderstorms. Lingering through Tuesday night, warming back to near 70 for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, with a few late day showers and thunderstorms possible. I'm meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Bill, did you see this news over the weekend about testosterone levels?
What
This
about
is like the best advertisement for Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic ever.
What?
This was actually on Drudge.
Yeah.
They didn't even send this to us or anything. This was
really?
on Drudge.
Yeah.
Studies followed men for at least 5 years and found that participants with low testosterone levels were more likely to die.
Oh, geez. That's not good. That's not good at all. That's awful.
You're right. Right. Fortunately, we can help you all. You all know our friends at Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic. You can visit their website, RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. Take the low T quiz on their website. It's a simple 10-question quiz with yes or no answers, and it only takes 2 minutes to do it. Listen, here's a sense of where you may be struggling with low testosterone, right? Obviously, ED, we've heard about that before, but poor sleep, low energy, inability to build muscle mass, like, right? Your workouts aren't as good as they used to be. That's all a sign you may have low testosterone. Go take their low T quiz on their website, then schedule a consult with Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic. A Colorado licensed medical provider will review your results with you and discuss your options. Cost of the appointment's only $99, which includes medical consult, AT, and PSA test. And if you sign up for testosterone treatment the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic has served the Front Range of Colorado for nearly a decade and successfully treated tens of thousands of men. Give them a call today at 720-440-7900 or visit RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. That's RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. Let's go to the phones here. Jay Sterling, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Jay.
Morning.
Ooh,
Oh, no.
Jay, we got a rough connection, buddy.
Yeah.
Why
Call
don't you
us
try
back.
calling
Yeah,
right back,
give
and
us a
we'll
call
get you back in here. So if you missed the top of the hour, big news coming out on this Israel-Iran war. The president of Israel dying in a helicopter crash. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
Like, just in
No.
case.
Yes. No,
Like,
stop.
whoa, big deal. Yeah. Whoopsies.
Slam on the brakes.
Yeah.
President of Iran dying in a helicopter crash overnight, along with the foreign defense minister. And then the ICC submitting requests for prosecution against Israel and Hamas for human rights violations. So here's my question to listeners. And maybe you have to be a foreign policy expert to truly understand what this is all going to mean, but we're in an active war right now. We're in a war between those two countries, and the president of Iran dies overnight.
Yeah. I'm not sure about a declared war, though, between the two.
Yeah.
I mean, it is somewhat proxy.
Yeah, it's
based on
proxy war,
Hamas,
but
yeah.
I'd still say they're in
That could be a fair
combat
critique.
against each other.
Yeah.
So what does this mean for the Middle East? Is this going to escalate things? Are we driving to a World War III? What does your gut tell you? You think do you think America's going to get pulled into something a lot bigger? And as you saw all the condolences coming from Russia, China, Pakistan, it's like a parade of terribles where you're like, oh man, yeah, there are two different sides in this world right now. If you look at Iran and you're like, condolences to the president of Iran for the death of your leader, I mean, that's just a totally different worldview.
Well, I think some of it, though, is PR as well. I mean, the idea is, it wasn't taken out like in North Korea, as they do to some of the generals and stuff, and just execute them. So it was an accident. And for the PR, it's, like anything else. You send the Christmas card. Same thing. Same kind of thing. So, well, I would be curious to see the number of people that line up. I wouldn't be surprised if there were some Western powers that sent condolences as well. Just because. That idea of just the PR. Well, it's again, it's public relations. That's what this is going to be at this point. whether or not you care at all about the guy being gone. It's public relations, and that's what I'm curious about, is how this PR game is going to be played. It's really what it is.
Let's go to Jay Sterling. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710, KNUS. Good morning, Jay.
Morning. Love you guys. I got a quick question. If you can't take care of your own home, would you hire them to take care of yours? It's kind of like what we're trying to do with Israel. It's kind of an oxymoron of a thought process. If you can't take care of your own home, that's incredible with our borders and everything else. We have a lot of chaos here, and then we're going to go overseas and try to save some other country when we can't even save our own.
Well, dude, here's the question I have about Joe Biden and trying to micromanage. It reminds me, and I wasn't alive at this time, but from reading history of like LBJ trying to micromanage Vietnam, as opposed to allowing the generals to try to go just win. In this case, in Iran, it should be, the goal is victory. Benjamin Netanyahu should, if Joe Biden's going to get in the way and think he's going to call, or Biden's administration is going to call and direct a war,
but we
ignore
have to
it.
live in reality today. I understand history, but we have to live in today, because we're not going to be alive forever. But we have to take care of the matter at hand right now.
What do you mean by we need to take the matter at hand right now?
We have to take care of what is reality for us today. I mean, learn from history, but take care of, you can talk about flat tires on 1970, 57 Chevy or whatever, but what is at hand? We have to fix the flat tire now. That is at hand.
Jay, what role does what role does the military have fixing what problems you're seeing at home? That's what I'm hearing from you.
Well,
and pulling it up. So what would it be?
If it was me personally, I would bring our troops back home and save our own country, protect our own home.
How? But what do you mean by that? Tell me what you mean by protect our own home. No, tell me what that means.
We can take. No, hang on a minute. We got so many troops overseas. If we put all of our troops on our own personal border, don't you think that would solve the problem?
Tell me how the troops on the border are solving the problem. Explain that one to me.
How would that solve the problem?
Yeah, and this is what I'm asking is, what are the orders the troops on the border are going to have?
Well, you line up all of our military on the southern border, I don't think there's going to be too many people crossing every day. Do you?
Well, here's the issue that I have with that, Jay. The issue I have with, if you are giving orders to the military on the border to shoot people trying to come across, I get an issue with that.
No, I didn't say that.
No, but then what do you think they're going to do? Because what you're saying is we're going to line the border, we're going to line the military up at the border, and if they are not allowed to use military force in order to deter the people coming across, they're going to stand there and be bystanders and just round them up and turn them back across the border. All you're doing is you're asking them to become babysitters. And I disagree with that as far as a mission for.
What do you think the military? What do you think the patrol system is doing?
But
the same exact thing.
But the military. That's why I'm not in favor of using the military to do it. I'm not in favor of turning them into babysitters and bringing them home to make them babysitters. What we're doing right now isn't working. So why will using the military to do it? And that's the issue.
What's your solution? What is your solution?
Hang on a sec. I'm not into the debate with you about the solution about the southern border. That's the one that you brought to the table. The issue you're talking about bringing home the military, and I think there is a role for U.S. military in some theaters. Now, right now, we are not directly involved in the Israel-Hamas conflict. We are a supporter.
What country do you live in?
Hang on. We are a supporter. Same thing in Ukraine. We're not in a direct conflict with either of those. And when we talk about letting the generals go ahead and prosecuting the war, I'm also curious about what it means for Israel to win. What is the end goal?
Okay, what about America to win? Are you supporting America, or are you supporting? What are you supporting? You kind of lost me there, because I like to take care of the homeland first. And if you can't take care of your own home,
the issue is
you can't take care of your. Hey, listen, let me say something. If you can't take care of your home, I'm not going to ask you to come help me.
I understand that, but I'm pretty sure that we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We have both foreign.
Well,
we have foreign.
We
have budgets for both domestic and foreign defense, and they're split up that way for a reason. And I understand what you're saying about the domestic defense, but the military is not the solution to the southern border. All they are is becoming babysitters. The solution to the southern border is different. And also, the military. Hang on a second. The military is good at breaking things and killing people, bringing them in to run the southern border is not good based on what they excel at.
They're good at keeping the peace because would you walk into fire?
How do they keep the peace, Jay? No, Jay. How do they keep the peace? With a threat of violence. So unless you're asking them to threaten violence to people crossing the southern border, which then we get into a different argument, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
I'd like to use maybe the military against the cartels. So if there's some violence to be had, I think we go war against those cartels.
That's the thing is you then you have to get the permission of Mexico to go in there. You can't send your military into another country to take out their citizens. We wouldn't be now if Mexico felt that we were sending too many guns there, having the Mexican military come into one of our states and killing people they say are gun traffickers.
I think we wouldn't be real happy about that. You could make the argument that what Mexico and China are doing with fentanyl in this country is an act of war, and if they don't clean it up, they're going to see some heavy firepower from us.
That's an oxymoron of a thought. Everybody's individual. Nobody makes you drive a car too fast. Nobody makes you eat too much food to get fat. That's a personal issue. If you want to take a pill that you don't know what it is, if you want to smoke a cigarette, that's your own personal. That's a personal thing. Just because it's sitting on the table doesn't mean you have to take it. So therefore, that goes to the direct individual to substitute. If you want to get in a car and you want to drive too fast, that's personal. If you
sorry, they said a word there that I couldn't. I couldn't keep going there. Sorry.
All right, want to talk to you all about. Thanks, Jay, for the call. Phone number is 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. If you're online, you can see I added some fun little figures. Donald Trump with an AR-15 and then Lincoln back there. All right, I want to talk to you all about American financing. Everything is still really expensive. And by the time you fill up the car and buy groceries, that there's not much left. So you end up swiping your credit card, tapping and trapping you into high interest credit card debt. If you're a homeowner, American Financing can help you. Interest rates have dropped into the 5s, the lowest they've been in a long time, and much lower than your credit card interest rate, which is at like 22%, guys. American Financing is saving customers an average of $854 a month by using the cash in your home to pay off high interest debt. That's $10,000 a year. Make the free 10-minute call to see how much you can save. They never charge any upfront fees. And if you start today, you may be able to delay 2 mortgage payments. Call American Financing, 303-695-7000. That's 303-695-7000. AmericanFinancing.net, NMLS 182334, ConsumerAccess.org. APR for rates in the 5 start at 6.799% for well-qualified borrowers. Call 303-695-7000 for details about credit costs and terms. All right, we'll continue to update you on all these breaking news. The president of Iran dying in a helicopter crash over the weekend, and the International Criminal Court bringing charges against both Israel and Hamas leaders. By the way, we just got some news. Joshua Sharp's going to join us in the 9 o'clock hour to debrief us on all of this. So you're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710. KNUS.
This is just the wrong song to play on a Monday morning, bro.
Yeah, it is. Like makes you like, it's
Welcome back
Monday.
to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Mondays suck. This is awful. It's a Friday song.
It is a Friday song. Or that's a Saturday work on the ranch song, which is what we were listening to Zach Brown. We were working around the ranch.
You had ranch work this weekend. Now, what kind of stuff did you do around the ranch?
That nice weather, you got to take advantage of.
Yeah.
And big news, bro.
Yeah, what?
We added 9 puppies to the Hunt family ranch.
I knew one of them was
the weekend.
Yeah, you were pregnant. So tell me what happened and how'd it go? 9?
9.
Wow.
This is my wife. She's amazing. She's like a nurse to these dogs. She sets up an entire birthing unit for these dogs. So I'm like Nicole, for like all of however long the world has been around, they had these in a field.
Yeah, they just dropped them. Right. Yeah, and then cleaned them up afterwards. Yes.
This is like, high operations with like cleaning pads, and she's there for every birth, and she helps them, and she makes sure they get attached and all that stuff.
Oh, that's
so
nice.
she takes care of them.
Oh, that's wonderful. And 9 in
this litter. So we raise Colorado mountain dogs, and then we sell them to ranches. Yeah. So these are. And this isn't our culture is kind of weird like this. They go, oh, you must be a puppy mill or something like that. No, we're not that at all.
Don't have the time. North number of dogs to do
right.
That's right. Understand how long that takes.
So we sell them to ranches, and these dogs live outside guarding sheep and chickens. And
they look like Great Pyrenees. They're like Great Pyrenees, a little bit of like Burmese mountain dog, a little bit of Newfoundland, but not the longest.
Exactly. And this is a breed that's only about 20 years old. And my wife befriended the founder of the breed. Nice. And so they do all the genetic testing to work out and kind of clarify these. They have a great disposition. So what makes them unique as a breed is that they're coyote killers. So they're vicious. Yeah. If they get in a fight, it is all the way, but they're family friendly.
Yeah.
So they're not quite German shepherds and those types of things. They're a little bit more intense, but they can hang around kids. They love to get their belly rubbed. They're
they're big dogs. Yeah,
big ones.
Not
90
thick.
pounds.
Yeah, not thick but big. So not thick like Newfies or like Burmese mountain dogs. They're thinner like the Pyrenees, but they're tall and stocky and really powerful dogs. Really beautiful, and kind of that whitish coat too, which is really cool.
Yeah. So they came. Saturday.
Oh, nice.
She went into labor, and then my wife sits there with them until it's all done. And that probably was almost 10 hours.
Wow. Jeez.
Yeah.
9 of them now. Hours. Oh, you're going to have to share pictures and stories. That's got to be so much fun.
It's on our Facebook page. If you go to Hunt Family Ranch, you can watch it there. We'll get to You Choose the News in just a second. Hey, if you're like us, you're working all weekend, busy outside, and your back is hurting you or your knee is hurting you, and you don't want to get surgery, I understand. Surgery should be a last resort. But if you're living with all of those pains, robbing you of the joy of your life, you're not alone. Back pain, knee pain, affecting millions, impacting quality of life. There's hope. My friends at QC Kinetics Denver offer regenerative medical treatments. These are non-surgical, drug-free solutions. As we age, our back, our knees, our joints become more painful. And you need to be able to address it without risking surgery. Here's a safer option. With no downtime and a free consultation, QC Kinetics often provides same-day treatment. Visit my friends at QC Kinetics and revolutionize your approach to lower back pain. Call 303-900-8986 or visit painfreecolorado.com. That's 303-900-8986 or visit painfreecolorado.com to schedule your free consultation today. Be sure to tell them Jeff Hunt sent you. When we come back, you'll be getting You Choose the News. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
right, let's do You Choose the News, Bill.
Yes, it's that time of the morning. Oops, we did it again. Time for You Choose the News. We're playing everybody's favorite fake radio news game show. I have scoured the interwebs for mere moments this morning to find really dumb stories, giving them even more ridiculous headlines to play this fake radio news game show. Why? Well, because the people in charge have no idea we are doing it, and some great company called Rolling Out Shelves kind of is tangentially sponsoring this thing, which is really questionable. But they're a fantastic company. Alrighty, here's how we do it. Blake Olsen, Jeff Hunt will be choosing our stories, and here are the headlines, gentlemen. Headline number 1, awkward lost and found. Headline number 2, the fight against Halloween continues. Headline number 3, premiere viewing of the Northern Lights. And headline number 4, judge settles long-standing debate. Your choice, Mr. Hunt.
Let's do Northern Lights, please.
Yes, this is a premiere viewing of the Northern Lights. Kareem Akatar and Celie Laurent, both in their early 20s, were walking home from a night out in Norwich. You know when that solar storm was going on? Well, all across England, people were able to see the Northern Lights. Now, this pair, a couple of years ago, had traveled to Iceland to see the Northern Lights, but weather didn't cooperate and they weren't able to view it. So they were super excited when they looked up in the sky and they saw this wonderful glow. And they were like, we finally saw them. We saw the Northern Lights. And they shared the video online and then keep walking a few more blocks and realize it's just the purple glow from the Premier Inn sign. It's a hotel sign. It's a really, really big hotel sign that's a couple blocks away, and it creates a purplish glow up in the sky. Yeah.
Better than industrial gas.
Exactly. But they were very excited about seeing a natural wonder, only to find out it was advertisement. Yes. So, yeah. And also, one of the gentlemen, that was his first ever TikTok video, and he's like, not a great way to start my TikTok career.
I bet he got a bunch of views. That's a great way to start your TikTok
All right.
career.
Second choice, awkward lost and found. Fight against Halloween continues, or a judge settles long-standing
all
debates.
Things awkward, brother. You know that.
Yes. Awkward lost and found. Here we're going to America's hat. Great White North, Canada. Up in Canada, they're having some problems with an awkward lost and found. Mostly your dead relatives. You see, in Canada, the cost of funerals has increasing so quickly, several $1,000s in the last couple of years, that more and more people are just leaving their dead relatives unclaimed at the morgue. Yes, this is actually a thing. In Ontario, the unclaimed population rose nearly 1,000 people in the last decade because of the cost of funerals. And more, the people that are running these the dead body places are saying, they're not coming in, and they're saying finances. In fact, back in 2022, finances were only 20% of the reason. Now it's almost 30% of the reason people are not claiming their dead relatives. This is going to
be the next thing the Democrats push. The government will pay to bury your own.
And the funny thing is, in Ontario, they've actually built an extra storage facility because they have so many dead people that haven't been claimed. So they already are building like kind of a pseudo cemetery because of it. All righty. Blake Olsen from the newsroom. Your choice, sir. Fight against Halloween continues, or a judge settles long-standing debate.
Fight against Halloween continues.
Yes, the fight against Halloween continues, especially in the North Carolina legislature. They voted earlier last week along party lines to ban anybody from wearing masks in public. Now, partly it's that diabolical protest we're seeing right now because of Israel and Hamas. They say that you shouldn't be able to go in there. And you remember those Black Lives Matter protesters, those people that cover their faces and then create havoc are what they're after. But oddly enough, they wrote the law so it also would prevent you from covering up your face if you wanted to prevent yourself from getting the COVID. Or, also if you're having chemotherapy and you need to wear a mask so you don't get sick around people. The one people that are going to be really, really mad at little kids because no masks in public, no Halloween. Halloween's going to suck.
I can't believe we've gone from we're going to penalize you for not wearing a mask to penalizing you for wearing a mask.
Yeah. But again, Halloween's going to suck. That's it. Rolling Out Shelves, probably not sponsoring this. Back to you, Jeff.
All right. When we come up, the sheriff of Laramie County, he's got that billboard. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Rome, I'm Giles Gibson, and here are the top stories we're following. State media in Iran say the country's president and foreign minister have been killed in a helicopter crash. President Ebrahim Raisi's helicopter went down in a mountainous area of northern Iran near the border with Azerbaijan. The wreckage was located by search and rescue teams in the early hours of Monday, battling fog and freezing conditions. Donald Trump's hush money trial could be entering its final week, with jury deliberations expected to start in the coming days. The former president's ex-lawyer Michael Cohen is back on the witness stand on Monday, where he'll face more cross-examination from Trump's legal team. Nick Harper reports from Washington.
Well, for the fourth day, Michael Cohen will once again face questions about hush money that he allegedly paid on Donald Trump's asking to cover up an affair with adult film star Stormy Daniels. Cohen is expected to be the prosecution's final witness. On Sunday, one of Trump's team, attorney Will Scharf, told Fox News he thought Cohen had completely collapsed under cross-examination. Trump has pleaded not guilty to 34 charges of falsifying business records and denies the relationship with Stormy Daniels.
And that's what you need to know this hour. I'm Giles Gibson in Rome on Salem News Channel.
Seven a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, center, and sometimes a little loony. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole morning of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So get that coffee brewing, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Let's check in on the news. Blake Olsen's news. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, guys. 50 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting highs in the mid-70s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story.
Back pedals, jabs, shot. Reed parachutes in and jackhammers it down.
No victory parades downtown this summer. The world champion Nuggets blew a 20-point lead in the second half and shot poorly from beyond the arc and lose to the T-Wolves 98-90 in Game 7 of the Western Conference semifinals at Ball Arena. Head coach Michael Malone. Now, I don't think he handled this well at all.
What changed defensively for you guys after you went up 20 in the second half?
Our offense.
Okay, so Billy, he said, what changed defensively in the second half?
That's a good question.
I think so. That's what everybody wants to know. So he said our offense, and he didn't want to talk about it. Now,
that's a crappy answer.
You could hear the and he's ticked off. I get it. He's angry, but you can hear the T-Wolves. I think it's the T-Wolves next door.
Yeah, I think so.
In the locker room, or the fans, but you can hear it. So it continues. And keep in mind, he's in the press room, and none of these media guys want to ask a question. So I give this reporter credit. Here's number two.
Did you feel like there was anything that you guys got away from offensively in that stretch after you reached that point?
I'll have to go back and watch the film.
Good question. See, there's
that's a
two
good question.
questions.
Yep, that's a good one.
I feel like those are now he's giving him one, just really short answers, and the reporter's like, well, someone's gotta ask him questions.
I gotta get some clips for the news later. My
Right.
news manager's gonna be upset.
Yeah, and there's like 20 reporters in there shaking because they don't want to be the person to ask the question. So here we go. Now he's put in a tough situation, and the bully Malone up there. He's live now on ESPN. So here he goes with the third question.
How hard is it just to absorb a loss like this after going ahead by 20?
Next question, man. The season's over. That's what's hard. Being up 20.
That was an F-bomb, by the way.
The season's over. You don't understand that.
Wait, no, yes, he does understand that. All these people understand it's game 7. Your season comes to an end. You don't have to be a coach or a player to understand how disappointed they are. We are. All the fans in the arena are disappointed. So I can't stand when a coach says, you don't understand that. You don't understand. We've been flying on planes and staying in world-class hotels all season long, battling our tails off. You don't understand. Here you go.
The season's over. It's hard. Stupid ass questions.
For stupid arse coaches. So that's
pull it together, man. Pull it together.
Come on. He could have handled that better.
Yeah, he could have, but the third question is still stupid. First two are solid.
No, it's because he couldn't get an answer. So at this point, he's like,
exactly.
Tell me how you feel. I mean, that's all you can do at that point.
Again, ask something better question. What do you think was going to happen? It's just, that's the Barbara Walters. If you're a tree, what kind of a tree you are question. It's a stupid question. It is. It's the first two are solid. And he should have pressed. He should have pressed a little bit more. But
I know he was
ridiculous.
Super intimidated. That reporter's got to get a pair of cojones.
Well, they all are. They all are
because most of them are young.
They got to be cheerleaders. There's some old ones in there like me, but
there are a few. Yeah,
they don't want to be the guy who makes them mad because then they'll see him
and they'll cut access. That's the problem. Is they'll cut access. They won't allow you back in the press room, and you won't get your press pass. Yeah, they'll cut your access. True too. Yeah.
So anyway, there you go. There you have it. They'll try to regroup and
that's great.
Do it again next season. So it's tough. It's tough to win back-to-back championships in any sport, let alone the NBA. All right, the second highest ranking official in Iran is dead following a helicopter crash Sunday. President Ebrahim Raisi and 8 others, including Iran's foreign minister, were in the copter. There's no evidence of foul play. Michael Cohen expected to be back on the stand today in former President Trump's campaign derailment trial, which is nearing an end. One person has been injured in a collision between a car and a scooter rider in Denver. It happened Sunday in the area of 9th Street and Auraria Parkway. Actually, last night near Ball Arena, officials say the victim was taken to the hospital and the severity of their injuries isn't known. The driver of the car remained on the scene. A suspect charged with the killing of Denver area businesswoman and community activist Ma Kang now faces charges in another murder. Investigators say 22-year-old Lou Ray faces a first-degree murder charge in the shooting death of 44-year-old Ricardo Ryans. Ryans was found dead in an alley near Willow and Xanthia Streets in Aurora on May 30th back in 2022. Cleanup efforts underway after Hamas supporters trashed the Auraria campus. The tents and demonstrators are gone from the Tivoli Quad, but a mess remains, and crews are working to restore the area to its former state. The long-lived demonstrations created havoc and resulted in 80 arrests over the course of 3 weeks. The final cost of the cleanup and the extent of the damage isn't yet known. What lefties do best: leave a mess. 45 in Broomfield, 46 in Castle Rock, and 50 in Denver. The Rockies were swept out west. Colorado lost to the Giants 4-1 in the finale of a 3-game series at Oracle Park, and Oakland The A's await the Rockies tomorrow night. Jeff and Bill continue. It's Monday. Blake Olsen, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Here's your 710 5-day forecast. Temperatures reaching the 70s today with afternoon showers and thunderstorms likely, with some showers and thunderstorms lingering through late evening and early tonight. A few could be strong. Low 70s today, mid 40s tonight. Noticeably cooler Tuesday. Highs only low 60s with showers and a few thunderstorms lingering through Tuesday night, warming back to near 70 for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, with a few late day showers and thunderstorms possible. I'm meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. This from the Cowboys State Daily. Wyoming sheriff uses billboard to attract Denver cops after city defunded police. Wyoming sheriff is trying to recruit deputies by posting a billboard in Denver, Colorado. Work in Wyoming, where breaking the law is still illegal and cops are still funded, reads a billboard the Laramie County Sheriff's Office put near downtown Denver. Laramie County Sheriff Brian Kozak said the billboard touts the whole state of Wyoming as a law and order state and that people in the cowboy state value law enforcement. He figures Denver's cops aren't feeling much of that after the city recently slashed its police department by $8 million. The sheriff who put up that billboard, Brian Kozak, joins the Jeff and Bill Show. Sheriff, thanks so much for being on the program.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. It's great to be with you guys.
Man, I got to tell you, although I live in Denver and I really don't like losing good cops, brilliant idea, Sheriff. Really brilliant idea. And I'll tell you why. I'm friends with a lot of them, including DPD. It is tough out there right now for them. I mean, there's a whole litany of lists, right? General disrespect for law enforcement, the defunding that our mayor's doing here. The fact that we don't really take crime seriously anymore in this state. Tell us, first of all, who came up with this idea? What was the story behind putting this billboard up there?
Well, I'm a humble guy, but I do have to admit it was my idea.
That's great.
So, no, we've been kind of messaging that in Colorado for several months on digital advertising through Facebook and social media. The message was work in a community where breaking the law is still illegal, and just great support for that statement, especially from our local residents who see the advertising and they're like, we love that, Sheriff. So as soon as that $8 million defunding article came out, I was like, okay, let's jump on this. And so we went ahead and ordered the billboard at the cheapest location I could find in downtown Denver. And then right before the billboard went up, the second news story came out where I think the police chief said that cops can't enforce minor laws anymore, like expired plates and things. And I'm like, oh, okay, perfect timing. So I got so much outcry from, like you said, local law enforcement, the Denver cops sending me selfies in front of the sign. And I'm telling them, don't worry, I'm not going to share that with anyone. But they're excited because not only does it send a message in Wyoming, you can do your job, but I think it sends a message in Denver too. Like, if you guys keep pushing this, the way that you're going, you're going to lose good cops, or they're just going to shut down and not police anymore, which is even worse.
So the $8 million defunding came from when Mayor Mike Johnston pulled money out of Denver Police Department to put into his $90 million illegal immigrant service operation. So that's where that funding came from. What are you hearing? Let's start with Denver. So you've had a few folks take pictures, send it up there. Did you get a call from DPD by any chance, or any other sheriffs in Colorado responding to that billboard?
I did get some messages from other sheriffs that say, "Hey, great job." No, I didn't get that message from Denver, city of Denver, from the mayor or the command staff there, except for the line level officers. They said, "Great job."
We're talking with Sheriff Brian Kozak up at Laramie County Sheriff's Office. He's the one who did the billboard down here in Denver. Work in Wyoming, where breaking the law is still legal and cops are funded. Sheriff, I want to get a little kind of more serious here. I've talked to a number of DPD police officers. I hosted an event in Colorado for years called the Western Conservative Summit. It was the largest gathering of conservatives in the Western United States for many years. We'd have President Trump come out. We've had just about every senator and governor and folks always visiting and big political figures. So we would work with DPD every year. To provide very serious security is the number one priority, right? Is you want your attendees to this event. We had thousands of people that would attend it. You wanted them to feel safe. And so we worked with DPD. And over the years, Sheriff, I would just go, how's it going, guys? And most of them would go, I'm just putting in my time, especially after 2020, the summer, BLM riots, all that stuff, and the defunding of police movement that took place out there. They were going, I'm just getting towards retirement. The younger guys are looking at different jobs, different opportunities. I mean, it is in Colorado, especially in Denver, it's got to be incredibly challenging to be a police officer right now. What are you hearing from other cops?
Yeah, I'm hearing that exactly. That it is very frustrating, especially recently, the limitation on doing some traffic stops, which the cops feel like took away our ability to do our job and catch the real bad guys, because sometimes it's luck you catch them on a minor traffic violation. Like the Oklahoma City bomber, for example, was stopped because of a license plate violation. So the cops are frustrated, and a lot of them have said, we support what you're doing, but I got 10 years in, I got 12 years in, I can't leave now, I'm kind of stuck here. But we did get applications from some newer officers in Denver and the surrounding area. So we're kind of excited. We got applications from all over the country. We got about 50 or 60 applications from current cops, and we got hundreds of applications from people based off of this billboard. So it's worked out well for us.
Oh, that's wonderful. Sheriff Brian Kozak joining Jeff and Bill this morning, Sheriff at Laramie County. He's the one that
Laramie County.
Laramie County. He's the one that put up the billboard recruiting Denver officers. Got a question for you, just based on law enforcement. A minute ago, you and Jeff were talking about the announcement of DPD that they no longer were going to conduct traffic stops and other minor type of encounters. In your experience as a sheriff, when you are going to change how you're going to enforce the law, is it a good idea to start telling people the laws you're no longer going to enforce? Does that increase the chance of them breaking those laws, or decrease the chance of breaking those laws? If you tell them we're no longer going to stop you or pull you over or encounter you for these, what happens? Do you find that crime increases or decreases?
Oh, definitely increases.
That's weird.
Yeah, definitely increases.
Very strange.
And especially in my experience, the people who break traffic violations are also criminals. They commit criminal violations as well. If they don't care about criminal law, do you think they care about traffic law? So sometimes that's your best way to catch those offenders.
Okay, so just to follow up on that, probably not a good idea if you're in law enforcement to tell the bad guys the stuff you're not going to catch them for. That's maybe the DPD should pay attention. I'm just hoping they're taking notes today. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for that.
Good.
Talking with Brian Kozak. He's Laramie County Sheriff up in Wyoming. Now, honest question, because I live out in rural Colorado.
Uh-huh.
I don't want people coming to rural Colorado. I'm very happy to see my neighbors miles away and to have my own space. Are you now kind of inadvertently drawing people to Wyoming with this new ad campaign?
Yes, actually, some residents from Denver called me and says, they're thinking about moving here now. But so we do have a Wyoming resident test that you will have to take. So basically, it asks, how many guns you own. It also asks, what is a recent Colorado joke you've recently said. So if you have a good joke, we'll let you in.
By the way, the
excellent.
website is Laramie County WY, as in Wyoming, LaramieCountyWY.gov. What are you looking for in a police officer? What makes a good one, Sheriff?
Yeah, honesty. Honesty is number one. So unfortunately, to hire one person, we screen out probably 9 people who apply. and it's honesty, integrity issues in their life that take them out. So we want people who have life experience, have made mistakes, but just be honest and upfront about it.
Now, Sheriff Kozak, I want to give you an opportunity here because you're up in Laramie, and here you would not be aware that our show has been named the best talk show in Denver by Westward, the alternative press. So you have a rather large microphone, and there are a lot of men and women in blue that listen to us each and every morning. I would like to give you the opportunity personally to tell them about the philosophy of law enforcement in Wyoming. This is your chance to sell, do the marketing pitch. What's your 30-second elevator speech about why perhaps some disgruntled Denver police officers might want to relocate north? What's the reason?
Yeah, I mean, you can do your job, plain and simple. And, some people say the pay is better in Denver, and yeah, it is. But we have no state income tax here. You don't have to wait in traffic while you're going to work. We give you a take-home car. You start right from your house. You get to work out on duty. The people here love you. I mean, I heard the story last night about your college campus, Aurora. Those cops should come to Wyoming because we don't have those issues on our college campuses. So, again, it's a quality of life here. And really, at the end of the day, the pay in your pocket is probably more because of the cost of living is less, and you can afford a bigger house with acreage and horses and all that stuff. So you really got to look at coming to Wyoming, and especially my agency at lcsowy.org. And before we leave, I got a funny story for you.
Yeah?
Oh, so... I just kind of picked the cheapest location for that billboard. I had some of the cops reach out to me and say, "Hey, great location. How did you know to pick that?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" They're like, "That's right next to the Denver PD gas pumps." I had no idea.
Oh my God, that's great. Oh, that's wonderful.
Now, Sheriff, I got one more question for you. Now, my best man in my wedding's a sheriff's deputy. I've done ride-alongs with him, and I know deep down, those boys and girls, they want action. And is there enough? And so he would always take the night shifts, right? So that, there's activity happening out there, and you can get a little more hands-on if you need to. You can mix it up and have some fun. Is there enough action up there in Laramie County, Wyoming, to keep the police interested?
Oh, for sure. There's enough action. In the city, they're going call to call. And the city of Cheyenne, and then our deputies can help out as they wish. But our call load is a little bit less, but that means you have more time to do a good job and really help people out. And so that's why a lot of people like working for a sheriff's office a little bit better than the city, just because you get to really help people. But yeah, I mean, busy calls can be dangerous at times. Last year, 2 of my deputies were in fatal officer-involved shootings where the bad guy lost, of course. The good guy won. But yeah, so we have our share of action.
Brian Kozak, Sheriff, Laramie County Sheriff's Office, the website. He's the one that put this billboard up. Work in Wyoming, where breaking the law is still illegal and cops are funded. And man, I got to just imagine that Mike Johnston and the DPD chief looked at that and were like, "No, God." And it's perfect. And also it's why I'm a conservative, right? Competition. Yep. Now DPD's got to figure out a way to make sure they're adjusting to keep their good cops here as well. Sheriff, I really appreciate you doing this. I appreciate your leadership in Laramie County, and I appreciate the fact you joined us today on the show. The website, LCSOWY, as in Laramie County Sheriff's Office, wyoming.org, lcsowy.org. Sheriff Brian Kozak, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Oh, you're welcome, man. Just one final message for the cops out there that, can't leave because of retirement and things like that. Just hang in there. And remember why you do the job. It's for the people that you swore to help. So just keep that in mind. No matter what your people above you are making stupid decisions, just keep doing your job.
Amen. Thank you so much for that message, and thank you for the encouragement to our law enforcement here in Colorado. I can't imagine how tough it is. You've lost now qualified immunity, so you're going to get sued by the bad guys. You got the defund the police movement. You got lawmakers here in Denver that have been pushing that. You've got, a mayor that cut your budget by $8 million. You got leadership in your own department that's probably more political than
and Laramie's beautiful.
And delivering. And yeah.
It is beautiful. I mean, if you like outdoor spaces, if you like the idea of rural Colorado, Wyoming can do it for you, especially Laramie. Yeah,
love it, man. When
really
he's going,
cool.
You can have your horse. And
and it's a hop, skip, and a jump to get back into Colorado if you're worried about, hey, we can't come and see things like,
like the Nuggets lose.
The Nuggets when they lose, yes, or the the Broncos, or can't come in for things like Elitch's or even shows down at the Performing Arts Center. It is still an easy drive. It's still easier, and oddly, people aren't going downtown as much, so hotel rooms might be cheap if you want to stay. Just saying, might be easy.
Brilliant idea, and
really smart.
And while I think I'm sad because we will lose good ones here in the state because of this type of advertisement, I sure hope, and I know, that the chief and DPD saw that and went,
well, crap.
Figure out something.
and I love the fact that you brought out competition. Yeah, so that's the part that I really like about this idea, is it's giving the alternative and another choice for those officers. And am I going to be sad that we are guaranteed to lose some stellar officers because they're going to go to Wyoming? Yes, that sucks. But that's the part of competition. If you want to keep them, then give them those incentives, give them the support, give them what they need to keep them here. And that's the only thing that we can ask. I can't get mad at a single one of them that decides to chase, and yes, pun intended, greener pastures in Wyoming.
That isn't worth. Oh, is this because our signal doesn't reach up there?
They're asking. They're asking. Yeah, our signal. Okay, this is a weird thing. Yeah, someone is asking if our signal gets to Wyoming. It doesn't unless the weather's right based on the skip. Because hang on, I'm gonna put my nerd hat on for a second. The amplitude levels and how the waveforms work for FM versus AM are different. The FM waveforms repeat more quickly. They're a little bit higher as far as frequency. The AM is a little bit longer. So AM signals tends to stretch and go further, but that's why you can't hear it inside of things that are blocked by concrete and steel. But it does allow, when the atmosphere is right, for the AM signals to skip in a way that the FM signals cannot, again, based on the amplitude modulation. Our signal here is a butterfly pattern. It's really weird. It stretches east and west, not necessarily north and south. So if you watched our signal in the city, it would look like we were in the middle of a big butterfly. And that's the pattern that we have here.
He was texting 7127. Well, then it's not worth the move.
You can stream us. You can always stream us.
You can always stream us. I'm on YouTube right now. You can
and I still question the fact that we're on YouTube.
Denver is safer with Nugget season done. No shootings.
At this hour in Rome, I'm Giles Gibson, and here are the top stories we're following. Donald Trump's hush money trial could be entering its final week, with jury deliberations expected to start in the coming days. The former president's ex-lawyer Michael Cohen is back on the witness stand on Monday, where he'll face more cross-examination from Trump's legal team. Nick Harper reports from Washington.
Well, for the fourth day, Michael Cohen will once again face questions about hush money that he allegedly paid on Donald Trump's asking to cover up an affair with adult film star Stormy Daniels. Cohen is expected to be the prosecution's final witness. On Sunday, one of Trump's team, attorney Will Scharf, told Fox News he thought Cohen had completely collapsed under cross-examination. Trump has pleaded not guilty to 34 charges of falsifying business records.
Pope Francis says priests are allowed to bless the people involved in a same-sex union, but not the union itself. The 87-year-old pontiff was speaking in a wide-ranging interview with 60 Minutes that aired on Sunday night. At the end of last year, the Pope announced that priests can give blessings to same-sex couples. That decision was strongly criticised by conservative bishops in the US and Africa. And that's what you need to know this hour. I'm Giles Gibson in Rome on Salem News Channel.
2022, and it set up automatic record sealing process for certain lower level crimes, removing the convictions from most background checks so that years old crimes don't perpetually block people from housing, jobs, or other opportunities. They use basically an example of this guy that got busted, young guy. His friends had won $20,000 at a casino, so they came to Colorado to celebrate, and they were up in Keystone, and cops came in, and there were some drugs on the table and stuff like that, and so he got busted. And this was like years and years and years ago when he was a young guy, and this essentially followed him around for a long time. So this law, over 100,000, 109,000 criminal cases are eligible for automatic sealing. So when you go to a background check, it won't pop up.
Yeah.
Now, the big stuff is not included. Murder, rape, stuff like that, abusing children. That stuff's never going to be sealed. That's always going to be open. It's the smaller stuff. Now, all the DAs in all over the state got lists of these criminal backgrounds sent to them, and they had to review them. And certain DAs could file appeals and object to them. Across the state, about 5,000 appeals were sent back from DAs to this organization that's essentially did 109,000. And the DAs ranged kind of wildly, some being as few as 1% sent appeals back to one county sent 31% of their cases back to be appealed. But here's the reason they did it. Because what some of these DAs found was that these were cases that should never have been included. They were violent.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So the organizing entity that originally did the 100,000, 109,000 messed up.
Oh no! You're telling me that the people in the government that were in charge of putting together the list of the people that we shouldn't have somehow they messed that up. Color me shocked.
Color me shocked.
Yes.
And
so surprised.
So there's a check on the system, which I kind of appreciate here.
Yeah.
But the check was that these DAs get a list and they're able to have their own teams go through it.
Good.
And the entity that did the original 109,000 basically said, well, the law wasn't super clear. And so we got
to choose.
We erred on the side of just allowing people to have their records cleared.
Wait a minute.
That is actually what happened.
That seems like an awful idea. We're just going to err on the fact of, we'll just clear their record. And it seems like you should have erred the other way. That if there were questions, you don't do it. Because you know why? You had a question. I think as soon as you have a question, you're like, maybe we shouldn't do this. It's just an idea. But again, they don't allow me in those meetings. I don't get to choose.
And the other thing that should stop them from being cleared off is if there was a second crime committed anywhere within 10 years after the original crime.
That was the thing that I was looking at is because sometimes this begins a pattern of behavior. Exactly. And so that's what I'm worried about is that if you knock off some of that early stuff, then does it allow you to not establish that pattern of behavior and then say, oh, look, they've done this to me. They're persecuting me, despite the fact that, yes, you have deserved what you are getting based on these early low-level crimes. But I have sympathy and empathy for the gentleman that the situation that he was in, that he got into in the mountains here when they were celebrating. It's a drug charge. But if it's still following, 10 years ago, I keep looking at it going, if your employer is worried about a single charge from 10 years ago, I think your employer has more questions about you than that. I think they're using that as an excuse to not employ you or not give you the rent or anything else. I fail to see how that is conclusive proof that you're a bad person if it is, again, a single charge a decade ago. I just, everybody makes dumb mistakes. I made a lot of them.
Had a district attorney challenge his record being clean because he got popped in Iowa for something later.
Oh, there we go. So that could be it too.
They can look at this stuff. So the state court administrator's office will compile and send out a list of these cases for auto sealing on a quarterly basis.
Interesting.
So the big one was this one. This one was 109,000 because they got to go back like a decade and look at all these. Now moving forward, won't be quite as much. But this is something that our DAs now have to deal with.
That's, I think for me, it's extra paperwork. And the problem that I have, as we've seen so far, is the lack of real guidance to the people that are flagging these cases. And what I'm worried about is, let's just hop in our time machine for a couple of years ago. And it was the climate in this state that we should be more understanding for people dealing with opioid addiction.
Yeah.
And because of that, we lowered the criminal punishment for possession and distribution. And now, as friend of the show, Stephen Tubbs, came in with us last week, outlined the problems we're having with fentanyl. And some of that is the precursor of lowering the penalties. So you couldn't get the people that were doing the stuff and the real bad guys off the street. And what I'm worried about is we will get into a climate where that will be expunged, where something like that. And again, I'm not guaranteeing it, but given our climate a couple of years ago, it is not out of bounds to assume a number of years in the future, we have another mistake like that maybe this type of behavior. And as we know, there are more opioids being developed that are like fentanyl, some that are less expensive and more potent and powerful. Could we make that mistake with those new opioids in the future? That's what I'm worried about.
So part of the other concerns too is not every county DA is actually looking at all the cases. So prosecutors in the 17th Judicial District, this is from the Denver Post, which covers Adams and Broomfield counties, did not review every case flagged by the state court administrator's office. After receiving a list of nearly 11,000 cases deemed eligible for sealing, prosecutors narrowed the list only to cases in which there was a subsequent conviction or a crime with a victim protected by the Victims' Rights Act. So, in other words, some DAs are diving in and looking at these cases for auto sealment and going, well, we're going to dive in and analyze each one and submit requests. Ones with higher requests kind of pushing back on these auto sealings did look at all of them. I think it was from Otero County was the one that got to 31% because he actually looked at all of them. Some of these other DAs, though, are like, meh. And so that's part of the issue is you're going to end up with a wide disparity of auto sealing or not. More conservative DAs are like, no, we're going to challenge ones that we think are problems. We're going to look at this case by case. And those other DAs, like Soros funded DAs, that are kind of like, well, it's
even just the Denver DA, Beth McCann, who seems to have a very open policy of who gets to light things on fire. That seems to be very conditional. So again, you can see this as, that idea that can come into play. Yeah.
Let's go to the phones. I want to go to Craig here in just a second. I want to talk to you about Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. We've hosted Gay in the studio many times. Wonderful person. So 3 reasons why you should hire her. Number 1, if you're going to sell a home, Gay Ribble, incredibly kind, warm personality. It's a stressful time of your life to go through the sale of a home. You want somebody who's going to work with you, have a good disposition through the most challenging, stressful times. Number 1. Number 2, she shares our values. She's right there on faith, family, freedom. She donates to support orphans in Colorado. Why? Because she was an orphan herself. She found her forever family. It's been a great family, raised her right. She wants to help orphans that are in the similar situation. So she's doing that. Third, she is a pro at this, guys. Look, I know we all have friends and family that are real estate agents, but when it comes to selling your home, it's about getting top dollar and working with a professional. Gay and her experts get their clients an average of $30,000 more. Could you use an extra $30,000? That's precisely why you need Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Their exclusive database is filled with over 14,700 pre-screened buyers ready to make a purchase. So take the stress and hassle out of selling your home while getting the best price. Here's an unbeatable offer. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team will sell your house for 100% of the asking price, or Gay will pay you the difference. It's an offer you simply cannot refuse. Get 100% of your asking price guaranteed with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Give them a call, 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD, or go to gayhasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE has thebuyers.com. All right, let's go to Craig. Craig, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Morning.
Hey guys, had to laugh there at the situation with setting fires, but on the wider subject here of the ceilings, I'm not really concerned about this because this is really just for civil issues as far as who's going to look at these things, because law enforcement will still have all access to all these.
That is correct.
So that's not a really big deal.
But I mean, if you're hiring somebody, don't you want to know? Don't you want to know their background?
I suppose if they're setting fires, I guess. But
now, Craig, what about some of these rural DAs, some of the smaller offices that might not have the resources? I mean, the idea that they've got to, rather than, have one of the people in the office work on putting together a case, work on connecting with law enforcement, following up on some other issues, they've got to sit down and go through this list. I'm curious about that being the best use of their resources. Now, large offices, Denver, things like that, they probably have the extra people. But in the smaller rural areas, I think this is a strain on resources. What do you think about that?
well, it could be. On the other hand, they probably don't have quite as much crime either. So it
Fair point.
might be a wash as far as percentages and such things.
That's fair. Now, what type of, crimes do you think they should be focused on cleaning and expunging from the records? And personally, what are you worried about that they might sweep up that you don't want excused? Where could they overstep their bounds?
Well, of course, I don't know where that boundary is exactly, but obviously things like seriously violent crimes and such are the things that I would think they'd somehow quickly see what was going on there. On the more what would you say, drug issues, drug use issues, and all such. Where do you draw a line? High level misdemeanors and felonies, lower level misdemeanors. I don't know where that line precisely is.
Yeah, I have that too. And the idea that the rolling in the violence, the idea is, do we know based on the crime, will it pop up that there may have been violence committed in the process of that crime? It could be, drug distribution. It could be something with car theft, but was there violence involved? Because it might, again, I don't know the system, but I could see, given that it is a government system and program, they could identify two different car thieves, one of them involved in violently taking it from someone where the other person broke the window and took it out of a parking lot. Two different levels of crime, but in the list, they may pop up as the same. And that worries me.
That is true, but and then there's the what the charge was and what the conviction was too. They tend to, my understanding is they kind of tend to pile on the arrests versus looking at what the conviction was in the matters, and that's kind of a confusing thing to me. You might have what would you say? The actual conviction comes out to practically nothing, and the arrest might have half a dozen situations in it.
Yeah, you're right. And Craig, thanks for the phone call. And I think, and that's kind of why I feel we have Alan Bragg, just to take this in a different direction, Alan Bragg charging Trump with 34 felonies. He's hoping that just one of them sticks. Just one.
Yeah,
he's just hoping for that. But I think you're absolutely right. And Craig, thanks for the call.
This just, I get it. I get the argument that this stuff follows people around for a long time and can be detrimental, and people change and they learn and they make stupid mistakes especially when they're young. I get that. Yeah. I also get the fact that our city and state right now is not prosecuting crime. Right? We had the sheriff from Laramie County directly advertising to our city going, come on up here. We actually treat our cops well, and we prosecute crime. And so this to me just reeks more, if I'm going to lean on a side of not being like, well, there's so many people out there looking to get jobs they can't because of their background follows them around, and much more of the, we're just going to be soft on crime. We're going to, just dismiss this stuff and it's not going to be there anymore. And it just reeks of that baloney more.
Yeah.
So that's where I am.
Yeah.
I don't know. Give us a call. How do you feel about this? 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710KNUS app. We're going to try to get both George Brockler and Dagna on. They're running for Judicial District 23 Republican primary. This would be a good question for them. We'll see if we can get them both on here.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I want to talk to you about the Colorado Farm Bureau. If you just whether you pulled out your skis or snowmobiles this last winter, it was a great year for winter fun. But the snow means even more to Colorado agriculture. And I want you to know that our state's farmers and ranchers are doing their part to protect our future water resources. The people of Colorado agriculture continue improving the efficiency of their irrigation systems and adopting farming practices that help crops use less water to grow. They're planting drought-resistant varieties, and they're leading talks with state policymakers about how to preserve water supplies when we have good years like this last one. My friends at the Colorado Farm Bureau are leaders in water conservation and water policy. They understand how to balance water for crops and water for families. They're doing even more with less, and you can do your part. I recommend you join and become a member of the Colorado Farm Bureau today. Go to coloradofarmbureau.com to join them. That's coloradofarmbureau.com. We'll continue with your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Coming up at the top of the 8 o'clock hour, Laura Pretty. She's the executive director of Monarch Montessori. You may have heard this story. 2 young black girls went before the Denver City Council to ask for help for their school. Instead, they became victims of a racist tirade. All right. This is one of those things that just kind of bridges the gap where it drives me nuts. And it drives me nuts because I care so much about civic engagement in our politics.
Yeah.
The one thing that makes me most angry is when our politics become driven by special interests, right? People pay lobbyists, all that stuff. And when 2 young girls, 4th and 5th grade, went before, and they're starting to engage the civic process, which is what makes our country so great.
Yes. And
right?
the younger students standing up in front of a bunch of adults who are in charge. That's tough. Everybody that remembers giving that book report in front of the class when you're in 5th grade, this is 10 times worse.
So Laura Pretty, she's the executive director of Monarch Montessori. She's the girls' essentially principal at the school, is going to join us in studio to talk about what these girls went through. And then Bill and I are launching a GoFundMe to support these girls in the school and what they're trying to get, a yurt. You're going to love this interview. You're not going to miss it. You don't want to miss it. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. We get to say yurt.
8 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, center, sometimes a little loony. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So get that coffee brewing, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Let's check in on Blake Olsen's news. Good morning, Blake.
Good morning, Jeff and Billy. Good morning. 52 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting highs in the mid-70s today. The 710 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story.
It's hard because the teams are more hungrier, better, talented than last year probably. Everybody get better. Everybody wants to beat us probably.
That's the Joker. No victory parades downtown this summer. The reigning world champion Nuggets blew a 20-point lead.
Hey, at least he gets to go hang out with his horses. I appreciate that about Jokic.
No doubt.
For him, it's a job. For like right now, as much as he would love to win a championship, and I'd want him to win another championship, that man's, he's like, I get to go hang out with my horses.
Right.
My wife.
Right. He gets to leave downtown Denver and go hang out with his horses. He gets to leave the country.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. Now, you know what? I was noticing also, it looked like he got a little sun. You think he was by the pool on Saturday, maybe? It looked like he was
I think he's got a daughter. Does he at least have one? He's got, I think he's got one kid, playing in the pool, being a dad.
Hot, though. He looked hot during that game.
Yeah, he did.
Man, I think he got sunburned, man. And you know how that wipes you out the next day.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right. They lose to the T-Wolves 98-90 in game 7 of the conference semifinals at Ball Arena. Head coach Mike Malone.
How hard is it just to absorb a loss like this after going ahead by 20?
Next question, man. The season's over. That's what's hard. Being up 20. The season's over. You don't understand that. The season's over. It's hard. Stupid ass questions.
Yeah.
Personally, I could have been better. Obviously, when I feel like today, we generated great looks, but we all shot below 50%. Every single one of us. It's tough, and you get the looks you want, and you don't make them, and they come down and they score. It's like what more could you ask for? Same. So
that's Jamal Murray. He had 35. Jokic had 34, and disappointing night for the Nuggets. There was a shooting last night at 15th and Wazee. One person was injured. No suspect information at this time. A death investigation ongoing following the discovery of a body near downtown. Authorities found a man's body floating in the South Platte River when they arrived at the scene. Investigators haven't said if foul play is suspected, and the man's identity has not been released. Let's see. The sheriff of Laramie County, Wyoming, Brian Kozak, of course, on with Jeff and Bill last hour. His office put up the creative billboard in Denver stating that breaking the law in Laramie County is still illegal as they try to recruit great police officers from Denver. But who came up with the idea?
Well, I'm a humble guy, but I do have to admit it was my idea. So, no, we've been kind of messaging that in Colorado for several months on digital advertising through Facebook and social media. The message was work in the community where breaking the law is still illegal, and just great support for that statement, especially from our local residents who see the advertising and they're like, we love that, Sheriff. So as soon as that $8 million defunding article came out, I was like, okay, let's jump on this.
Great stuff. Kozak said the billboard is right above where Denver police put gas in their cars, but he can't take credit for that. It was just the least expensive location. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation says the body of a 3-year-old boy who was reported missing on Saturday has been found. Amari Galan was last seen around 4 a.m. near Washington Street in Rocky Ford. And on Sunday night, officials announced that Galan's body had been found in a canal that runs behind his home. The second highest ranking official in Iran is dead following a helicopter crash Sunday. President Ebrahim Raisi and 8 others, including Iran's foreign minister, all died. Michael Cohen on the stand today in former President Trump's campaign derailment trial, which is nearing an end. One person has been injured in a collision between a car and a scooter rider in Denver. It happened Sunday night near Ball Arena during all the excitement down there. Officials say the victim was taken to the hospital and the severity of their injuries isn't known. The driver of the car remained at the scene. It's 47 in Arvada, 49 in Aurora, and 52 in Denver. The Rockies swept in San Fran. They'll take on the A's tomorrow night in Oakland. Jeff and Bill continue. It's Monday. Blake Olsen, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Here's your 710 5-day forecast. Temperatures reaching the 70s today with afternoon showers and thunderstorms likely, with some showers and thunderstorms lingering through late evening and early tonight. A few could be strong. Low 70s today, mid-40s tonight. Noticeably cooler Tuesday. Highs only low 60s with showers and a few thunderstorms lingering through Tuesday night, warming back to near 70 for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, with a few late-day showers and thunderstorms possible. I'm meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, about a week ago today, 2 young black girls went before Denver City Council. This is from Westward. They're asking for help for their school. Instead, they became victims of a racist tirade. 4th and 5th grade students from Monarch Montessori spoke during the council's weekly public comment section on Monday, May 13th, requesting assistance in getting a yurt for their school. But less than a minute into their testimony, a voice from the online Zoom shouted at the girls, "Go back to effing Africa," they said, followed by a series of insults and racial slurs. Council staff unsuccessfully tried to mute the anonymous speaker, but the racist rant continued for around 30 seconds, with the female-sounding voice repeatedly calling the children the N-word before the Zoom was eventually disconnected. These words were vile, as was the character of the person who would actively seek to say these words to 2 beautiful and courageous young girls, Council President Jamie Torres said in a statement issued the day after the meeting. These youth gathered the bravery to bring their voices to the city council representatives to improve their school and community. We honor and praise these 2 young voices and condemn anyone who would attack them and any other member of our community. The 5th grader was left in tears and unable to continue her speech after the racist diatribe. The 4th grader started her testimony over repeating her plea for a yurt, which the school would use for additional classroom space. She told council members that her school has struggled to obtain the necessary building permits for the yurt. Man, this got me. This got me for a few reasons. One, my very first engagement in politics was before my city council. I was like 5th grade, maybe, I think. And I did not like our curfew laws. I was learning about the Constitution. We were reading the Constitution in class. And I heard about our curfew laws, and I thought they were unconstitutional. So I grabbed my little textbook with the Constitution in the back and went before my city council. And to their credit, they spent about 20 minutes asking me questions, kindly, talking amongst themselves, debating this issue. And it was such a positive experience for me that it probably laid the groundwork for me wanting to engage in public policy for the rest of my life. So when I saw these 2 young girls, and the racist stuff is horrible in itself, but I want citizens engaging in the political process. You guys know this. You hear me on the show. I go down to the state capitol and I sit there and I lobby on the issues that are relevant to me. And I watch these special interest groups that have come in and have paid these lawmakers and bought their campaigns and all this stuff. And they get what they want and the people don't. And it drives me nuts. So I want more people. And when I saw what these 2 young girls went through, And I also have a wife and a daughter, and, you know, the bravery and the courage it took these two young girls to do that. Whoo, there's a lot that got to me. So I called the school, Monarch Montessori, and I just wanted to have a conversation with the executive director, essentially the principal. And I just, first of all, wanted to hear what happened, apologize for what these two young girls went through, and then see if there's anything we can do to help them. And Laura Pretty was kind enough to call me back. I said, hey, you want to come in on the show and have a conversation? She was happy to do that. Thank you for joining us in studio, Laura. I appreciate it.
Me here. I really appreciate the call.
We might be on mic 3 there. All right. Laura, try again. Did we get you?
All right. Can you hear me?
We got you.
Yeah, it is on 3.
Got her on 3.
That's great.
Laura, thanks so much for being in the show here today. Let's first of all, tell me what happened to these young girls.
Well, I think what you described was pretty accurate. We actually 4 children came with us to City Council last Monday, and 2 of them were coming to speak about improving pedestrian safety around our school. They want to make it easier for them to walk and bike around the school. And then 2 of them were coming to talk about the yurt, because our school is expanding. We need more space. And the kids have gotten very excited about this idea of us getting a yurt, but we've been having trouble with the permitting process. So so the girls wanted to come in and speak to the city council. So we brought them. They were so well prepared. They had spent time sort of writing and practicing their speeches together. This was their first time speaking in public. You know, even for someone like me, speaking before the city council would make me a little nervous. They were definitely nervous when they were going up there. And I was so proud of them when they went up there. I had my camera out, I was taking pictures. And when they started to speak, almost immediately, I mean, I don't think they got very far in their speech. They just barely introduced themselves and started to say what they were asking for when this voice came over, saying all the really ugly things that you just described. And one of the girls tried to keep going through the speech. Her teacher was up there with her and tried to help her continue to go on with her speech. The other little girl burst into tears, completely understandably. You know, if you imagine, even as an adult, if you're that nervous and somebody starts hurling insults at you, how awful that would be. And then you add the racist element, it just couldn't have been more hurtful.
And what happened in that room that night? I mean, did you see a flurry of activity trying to cancel and turn off that voice, or what describe what happened in that room right after the voice came on?
Well, in the first case, to be honest, it was very confusing what was going on for me. So I did not fully understand what was happening. I was like, where is this voice coming from? I was looking around. I thought it was a family that was coming in, and I was trying to understand why they were shouting these things. I'm not sure I can say exactly because I didn't fully understand what was happening. What I understand is that the city council was trying to shut off the sound and wasn't able to do it. So they were trying to mute the person, but what they said is it sounds like the person that was doing this had some sort of mute override, like they were able to keep them from muting them. So it took them a little bit to get it turned off. The city councilwoman Lewis, Chantel Lewis, was amazing. She came down immediately to the little girl that was in tears and just embraced her, and then took her out of the room. And then I left, so I went to go with her. And then the city council brought the other little girl and her teacher. Also there were the 2 other girls who were in the audience when this was happening, as well as the mother of one of the little girls. And we all went back to a separate space. They gave the girls food and water and sort of got them kind of calm, gave them a lot of love. Several city council members came into that space. And once the girls were kind of calmed down, they gave them the opportunity to do their speeches again in that private space. And it was, I felt the city council handled that situation really, really well. For the girls, when they are talking about it the next day, they definitely the the words were hurtful that they heard, but they were also so excited about the attention that they had gotten from the city council. And so I was really proud of the city council. I think 20 years ago, it might not have been handled as well.
Wow. Tell me about these two girls. Obviously, they're in. I take this personally because my wife sought leadership positions in education. She was part of a student council. She was the president of our college. There are certain students, I was never really one of them, but I married one, who want to take leadership, proactive roles and help their school. Tell me about these two girls.
Yeah, so that does describe those two girls. So the first thing that I will say is they are really, really sweet kids. And there are no two girls that deserved less these types of hateful words. Not that anybody would deserve them, but they are incredibly kind children. And both of them are, so the fifth grader is going to be graduating the school and just has this huge love for Monarch. If you ask her about how she feels about going to middle school, she wishes she could stay. She really wants to advocate for the school because she really loves our community. And the other little girl is part of a group that is actually forming what we're calling right now the Student Leadership Committee. I think the kids are going to change that name. But one of the things that we're getting ready to launch at our school for next year is an increased focus on student voice. And we've been talking about, we don't just want it to be a student council when we're working with the kids, because often student councils are doing things like, deciding what the colors will be at the party or something like that, they were actually creating their list of the types of things they want voice in next year, including the school schedule, including the rules in the school, including what we put in our outdoor learning environment, if we're going to get animals or not. Those types of things.
Soda and the drinking fountain. I think that was a big one when I was a kid, right?
That's right.
Everyone always promised it. No one ever delivered.
No, that and half days on Friday.
Yeah, and that
thing.
does prepare you for politics,
It
right?
does, it
a
does.
lot of promises and no one ever delivers.
Well, and I suspect maybe no one ever delivered because the school didn't give them real power. But we intend to give them some real power. So we're excited about launching that, and the girls are part of that group. And they are, as I said, I was really proud of them and really, really worried that night that this was going to make them afraid to speak in public again. I'm still a little worried about that.
Well, I mean, that's natural. My goodness. I mean, you go through an experience like that and you see that type of hatred and that vitriol and that racism just straight in your face, and you're a fourth or fifth grade girl. My goodness, it'll definitely build character. To be able to overcome that and to continue to advocate and to see that up close. But I'm impressed with their bravery. I'm glad that the city council was able to kind of walk them through that. Let's talk a little bit about Monarch Montessori. Y'all are a charter school in Denver, right?
That's right. Yeah, we're technically Monarch is two schools under one roof. So we have a nonprofit early childhood program that serves infants through preschool. And then we have our public charter school, which is under Denver Public Schools, which serves kinder through fifth grade. We're a Montessori school, which means a lot of things. One of the things it means is that there's mixed ages in the classroom. So that's why you have fourth and fifth graders together who are friends, and we're planning this together. The school also has a dual language program, so families can choose between an English program or the Spanish English program. And then we also have a large outdoor learning program. So when I said the kids are talking about animals, that's a real thing. We have chickens. We're talking about getting a goat.
We can help you. I raise goats. We can help you. We got some Nigerian dwarfs.
Oh, well, we maybe we should talk a little bit more later. So, a yurt, strange as it may sound, actually fits in with a sort of Montessori ethos, and certainly with our school, because a yurt classroom it creates a sense of being outdoors with all the safety and comfort of being indoors while you're learning. And the kids, of course, think it just seems like a super cool space.
And how many students at the school?
We have about 250 kids in the elementary school and about 150 kids in the preschool program.
And as a charter, this is a school that parents choose into, right? They do they apply? Do they get in line? I mean, it's not a traditional brick and mortar neighborhood school.
That's correct. Yeah, they apply through the Denver Public Schools choice system.
And how are you seeing enrollment?
Well, this is the reason that we need the yurt. Enrollment is we're a growing school. And right now we don't have enough space. So we actually made a decision that we're not accepting any more 4th and 5th graders for next year. But the most upsetting part is we can't accept kindergartners. We're sort of at capacity there.
And why do you think that is? Why are people drawn to your school?
Well, I think there's a number of reasons. One is right now in Montbello, there's only a couple of schools that are meeting state expectations on the school performance framework, and Monarch is one of them. I say that with love and not a lot of judgment for schools. Test scores only mean one thing. They don't mean everything about the school, but it says something about the school. And in addition, our dual language program is a big draw. We're the only two-way dual language program in the area, which means it's a dual language program that serves both native English speakers and native Spanish speakers. And then, Montessori for some families is a real draw. Montessori has a big focus on independence, on student choice, on students have freedom to move their bodies in the classroom. Those kinds of things are attractive to families. And then our outdoor learning program is pretty cool. Being in an urban setting where you get the benefits of being in an urban school that is diverse and you learn to be with a lot of different types of people. We're diverse in all the different ways you can imagine diversity. And those are benefits of being in an urban school. And at the same time, our outdoor learning program brings some of the benefits of being in more of a rural school. Our kids are involved in planting and harvesting. They take care of animals. There are some things about Monarch. My own daughter went to Monarch that, we're very proud of. And I imagine that's why.
Laura Pretty, Executive Director of Monarch Montessori School of Denver, joining Jeff and Bill. We are talking about two of the students from Monarch Montessori that were verbally assaulted at a recent city council meeting. They were there looking for fundraising for a yurt, and someone that was on the Zoom call decided to use that opportunity in order to abuse them verbally based on their race. It was absolutely atrocious, and as Laura has outlined, the city council did a wonderful job in comforting these girls. Now, I want to give you an opportunity, Laura, to maybe give a little bit broader outline of what a Montessori education is. I have members of my family that have gone through it, and for them, it was ideal because the traditional structure that you find inside of a public school wasn't going to work for them. There are parents out there that are looking for options. What does a Montessori education involve, and why is it different than what you see at a traditional public school that we think of?
So the Montessori model of education was started in the early 20th century by a woman named Maria Montessori, who was an Italian. Her story is really interesting. She was the first female doctor in Italy, was just a really phenomenal woman. But she really looked around and said there in Italy and in many countries at that time, there was sort of a belief that certain kids couldn't really learn. And she was part of a group that today we call progressives, and that refers to a very specific educational philosophy, in this case, not a political philosophy. But the progressive education movement sort of said human beings are natural learners, and we, at all times, kids are learning. It's just a question of what they're learning. And she really believed that this idea that certain kids could not learn was just wrong. And she began to form a school where she was working with kids that other people often wouldn't teach. So some of her kids had, probably today we would say, they had special needs. Some of them were homeless or didn't have families. And she created this system that was very hands-on. So she created a number of things that we call works. Sometimes people think they're toys, but they're not. They're designed for specific learning objectives, but they're designed to be enticing or attractive to kids. And and found ways that kids could work relatively independently and make their own choices so that we weren't killing that internal drive that we have as humans to learn, but really fostering it. And her model was just internationally acclaimed. I mean, she traveled all over the world. People were so interested in what she was doing because even today, it's really impressive when you go into a classroom of 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds and see kids working independently doing high level, you see kids doing multiplication at those very young ages because they've got works that really support them and they're driven. And the model is basically built around three ideas. She says that there's 3 teachers in the classroom. One is what we would call the teacher, what in Montessori we call the guide. So it's the person that's guiding the children. The second are the children themselves. So this is why we have multi-ages, because there is something for the younger kids in being able to see an older child and be motivated by, I want to be able to do the complicated big works that older child is doing. And I know I'm going to need a number of lessons before I can get there. And for the older children, it creates a gentleness in sort of learning to, know that I'm a model for these younger kids. And then the third pillar in the classroom is the environment itself. So Montessori classrooms are set up with a very detailed sort of look at the environment and making sure that the works are set up in a way so that the children are able to choose them and work with them independently, so that there's not a lot of distractors in the room, and the classrooms are designed to be attractive and beautiful. It's a really lovely model.
Talking with Laura Pretty, she's the executive director of Monarch Montessori of Denver. Just last week, a week ago tonight, 2 young Black girls went before the Denver City Council to ask for help for their school. Instead, they became victims of a racist tirade. Somebody came in on the Zoom, shouted, "Go back to effing Africa," and then used the N-word. It put the girls in tears. If you could imagine a 4th and 5th grade girl trying to present before City Council being treated like this. Laura Pretty is the executive director of that school. They're trying to get a yurt. And we have a lot of text messages that have come in here. My heart breaks for these kids. Where do I donate? If you text in to the 710 KNUS app, I will send you a link. We've launched a GoFundMe. Bill and I have launched a GoFundMe for these girls. It's titled Support Monarch Montessori's Yurt Dream.
Yurt.
Bill likes it.
I love saying yurt. And the link is also going to be on the podcast. You want to check out the podcast when you wrap up this conversation. It'll be up around 5 to 10 minutes after 9 o'clock this morning. So you can find the link there.
I'll put it on my X account and you can download it there. We've raised about $555 so far.
Wonderful.
We'd like to get to at least 5,000. Laura was telling me that it's like 15,000. So we'll work there. We'll get there.
We can get there.
But my heart breaks for these kids. I'm in just tears. 8794. I missed the first part of the story. Do you know who and how they could get in and make those kinds of recordings when the girls were trying to speak?
Yeah, that's the problem is they don't know. And as you know, with City Council, there is kind of an open window because you should be allowed to participate and view the City Council. Now, the City Council, according to what Laura told us, there was some sort of a mute blocker. Normally, the person controlling it on the back end of those Zoom calls has the ability to mute all participants, a portion of the participants. You can even designate certain participants as leads, and they're muted differently than the general participants. It looks like this person that apparently was part of the general participants, the riffraff that comes in and watches the council meetings, but this is done virtually, had the ability to block the muting system. So that would be a computer add-on or a sub-process or a small program that interferes with the Zoom. And they're out there. They are out there and people can use them. So that seems to have been the process. And the reason that it touched Jeff and I so emotionally is because these girls are standing up in front of the big, scary adults. This is the City Council, and they're giving speeches and they're asking for things. And think about being at that age and having to not do this in class, but to do it at this official meeting in front of the adults that are in charge, that takes just a spine at that age that is very unique. And it's the harm that is caused for this interaction. And these girls now view not someone on the city council being mean to them, but someone in their community views them that way. That's what's so angering and so dangerous about what happened to them.
Look, there's a lot of things that are going to get us political between now and November. This transcends it.
Oh, yeah.
These two young girls should not have been treated this way.
Never.
And we're happy to step up and help them raise some money so that when all of this is said and done, when they have gone through all this and they look back, they go, people came around me.
Yep.
In the midst of horribly racist treatment, people came around me, helped me recover from that night. And then we were able to raise some money to get what we wanted to achieve.
Yeah.
That's I hope that there's a good ending.
Yeah.
To this story.
We want good to come out of this awful story. We want these girls to have a memory about how the community supported them in the face of these challenges, to know that they are not alone when this happens.
That's right. How are the two girls doing these days?
Right now, I think they're doing okay. What's hard to know is long term, how it affects them. What I will say is the community has really embraced them.
That's great.
The Denver Public Schools school board invited them to be recognized before the board last Thursday. I think that meant a lot to them. The city council came out to our school to visit them, and they gave the city council a tour. And of course, our school community has really been embracing them. I'm certainly working as hard as I can to make their dreams a reality. We've even spoke about the 5th grader. I said, when we get the yurt, you're going to come and be part of our ribbon cutting ceremony.
I love it.
So we're really trying to make this about what their bravery and how what they did is actually going to make a difference. And hopefully not focusing as much on that awful moment. What I'm hopeful is that what this will do, and I hear it from them. One of them said, "I'm going to be a judge one day." So
nice.
So they, when this kind of thing happens, I can be the judge. So I hope that this is going to actually give them that sort of like fire to continue to stand up for what they believe in and participate in our democracy.
That's it. That's what
wonderful.
it's about. That's about participating in democracy. And I hope these girls will continue to do that. Laura Priddy, Executive Director of Monarch Montessori of Denver. If you want to learn more about their school, go to monarchm.com. That's monarchm.com. If you want to donate to help them achieve the dream of getting and building a yurt, text in on the 710 KNUS app. We'll send you the link right there. Laura, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill program.
Oh, thanks for inviting me.
And please convey to our girls that over here, they've got Jeff and Bill's support, and we're working to help them out. We're proud of their bravery.
I will let them know. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Rome, I'm Giles Gibson, and here are the top stories we're following. State media in Iran say the country's president and foreign minister have been killed in a helicopter crash. President Ebrahim Raisi's helicopter went down in a mountainous area of northern Iran near the border with Azerbaijan. The wreckage was located by search and rescue teams in the early hours of Monday, battling fog and freezing conditions. William Lai Ching-te has been sworn in as Taiwan's president, marking the start of a historic 3rd consecutive term for the island's ruling Democratic Progressive Party. Former U.S. officials were in attendance, and the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken also sent his congratulations in a statement. Laura Westbrook has more from Hong Kong.
Newly sworn-in President William Lai Ching-te pledged that his government would retain the status quo in the Taiwan Strait. He called on China to cooperate with his government, replacing confrontation with dialogue. And he also urged China to stop its military and political threats on Taiwan. Beijing has long claimed Taiwan as its own and has been ramping up both political and military pressure on Taiwan.
And that's what you need to know this hour. I'm Giles Gibson in Rome on Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Laura Pretty, Executive Director of Monarch Montessori of Denver, joined us. These two young girls that went before a city council meeting last week, a week ago tonight, were shouted down by somebody on Zoom. Go back to effing Africa, they said, and then proceeded to call a 4th and 5th grade girl, black girls, the N-words. If you could just imagine, going before city council, you're already nervous. You're having to deal with all these adults. You're not used to this whole thing. And then that happens, and it put these young girls in tears. And kudos to the city council. There's not much I support about the city council.
Me either.
And this is, look, this transcends politics. And I posted about this last week, and I had people on Twitter going, well, it's a Denver school. Why are they run out of space? They brought all these illegal immigrants and all that stuff. That's like a 5th degree issue at this point.
And the issue being, and Jeff and I talked about this off air, the issue being that you can have concern about the number of illegal immigrants. You can have concern about them being pushed into Denver schools and creating space issues. None of those concerns means it's okay for those little girls to be talked to that way. And the problem I have is if that's where your head goes, that you're worried about, where are the illegals? And the illegals, you have, in my opinion, you've given permission for them to be abused this way. You've given permission in your mind that, well, I can see why it would be okay for someone to talk to these girls this way because of all the illegals. And if they didn't have the space, then they wouldn't have had to make so it's the illegals' fault that someone, no. It is the person that verbally abused them. And that's where this conversation starts and stops.
If this happened to my kids, I'd get hands-on. Sorry.
Oh, in a second.
I get hands-on.
I get no question.
If you did that to my daughter,
I will take the assault charge happily. And when I'm in court, I will say, yep, did it. And if they say it again, I'll do it again right now. Let's go.
For me, this gets even more core.
Yeah.
One, you see these young black girls get treated like this, and you just go, man, like I'm a Republican.
Yeah.
Right. My party was founded as the anti-slavery party.
Yeah.
We fight against crap like this.
Absolutely.
But it gets core to me because, and this gets into an interview I had last week, dude.
Yeah.
The thing I hate most in politics is special interest groups. I despise it because we're a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And when Johnny Smith and his $150,000 donation to your campaign now owns you, and you just do his little stupid bidding all day, that is like you want to get to the core of what I hate about American politics. It's that there. Okay,
that's the end, and I can feel your energy and I can feel your emotion. You're right, because it is the antithesis of the prospect of how we set it up. That they are supposed to be representing the people, not the groups, but because the groups can write the larger check. Yeah, it is the absolute antithesis of what we're supposed to have.
I ran a think tank where we'd sit down at the state capitol. And we would show up, and people would show up, and then the special interests would walk in.
Oh,
and they just got whatever they wanted.
They had reserved seats.
Exactly. They got the VIP box in the back.
They gave them hors d'oeuvres.
Exactly.
More champagne. Yeah.
And so the way we fight that is by citizens getting involved, by going to your city council meeting, by going to your county commissioner meeting, by going down to the state capitol. So the goodness part of America is citizen involvement. And when you have a 4th and 5th grader that go up there and are the very best of what our country could be, right? Young girls learning to get involved in the process, taking on leaders. Look, it's 4th and 5th grade girls. They could spend Monday night watching TV at home, playing video games, being on their phones, going outside riding their bike.
A couple weeks ago, Billie Eilish dropped a new single. I mean, this coming out. There were so many things.
Doing so many other things.
Yeah,
they chose to go down and be part of the process that makes this country great. Some person,
nice way to hold it back there.
some person got on Zoom and treated them the very best of what our country could be, citizen engagement in our political process. And they get treated like that. And then I said, when she was here, I hope character develops out of this, because that would be my response as a teacher or as a parent. Like, I am and my first conversation when Laura Pretty called me 5:30 on Friday, right?
Oh, wow, yeah.
School's done.
Yep.
She's still calling. She calls me 5:30 on Friday. I said, I'm sorry for what you went through.
Yeah.
And I hope in the midst of that opposition, that hatred, that vitriol, that terrible experience you can come through it and be more motivated than ever. That I hope. And then I hope the community comes around, builds this year.
Absolutely. And I think it's a really good lesson for the girls of the community coming around them, because unfortunately, as we know, a variety of our children are going to face a series of challenges, some legitimate, some illegitimate, as they grow up. There are going to be a whole bunch of things that people are going to say and prejudge them about, regardless of their background, their skin color, their religion, a whole bunch of things. And I'm hoping that these girls will see the community support around them and understand that those outliers, those individuals that happen to spew hate in this way, one, don't define them or define the community, that they are stronger, that the next time they encounter something like that, they can look at it and go, you're small, you're little, I don't have to deal with you.
That's exactly right. And you learn in life and you develop courage by going through situations like this.
Oh, do you ever? Yeah. You do, and having those and coming out on the other side. Because if they allowed this to simmer and sit and allowed the girls to deal with it on their own, then they're probably going to come to a different conclusion, that everybody else feels this way about me. But now the community isn't. They're like, this is not what defines you. This is not who you are. And we are here for you. So, and we are going to be a part of that community, supporting them and helping them get the yurt. Because I just want to say yurt again. Yurt.
Well, our friend Eric is saying yurt shouldn't be being developed in our country.
What?
I don't know.
What?
Man. If you look at that situation and that's how you read it, I don't know what to say for you.
Again, here's the idea. You're just a fun name. Would it make you feel better if we said tent? I mean, okay. If I'm going to be mean,
circular, you've never camped in a yurt. Those are great to camp in.
Again, okay.
Those are great to camp in. Come on, Eric.
If we shouldn't be building them there, would it make you feel better if we just called it a big teepee?
How about a log cabin?
Let's call it a big teepee. That's a Native American thing.
Build.
Let's do that then. I mean, seriously, I'm mad about the word.
And you're supporting a charter school, which
exactly might help.
I like charter schools a lot. All right, I want to talk to you about American financing. Everything is still really expensive, and by the time you fill up the car and buy groceries, there's not much left. So if you end up swiping your credit card, it's going to be trapping you into high interest credit card debt. If you're a homeowner, American financing can help you. Interest rates have dropped into the 5s, the lowest they've been in a long time, and much lower than your credit card interest rate. American financing is saving customers an average of $854 a month by using the cash in their home to pay off high interest debt. That's $10,000 a year. Make the free 10-minute call to see how much you can save. They never charge any upfront fees. And if you start today, you may be able to delay 2 mortgage payments. Call American Financing, 303-695-7000. That's 303-695-7000. AmericanFinancing.net, NMLS 182334, consumeraccess.org. APR for rates in the 5 start at 6.799% for well-qualified borrowers. Call 303-695-7000 for details about credit costs and terms. All right, we'll continue when we come back in the 9 o'clock hour. Joshua Sharp's going to give us an update. He's from the Independence Institute on the president of Iran dying in a helicopter crash overnight, and the ICC, the International Criminal Court, bringing human rights charges against both Hamas and Israel. What does this all mean? You're not going to want to miss it. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Eric is lighting up Twitter here, or on our text messages. Sorry. Have you seen what a yurt looks like? It's a third world country shack.
No, it's a big tent. It's a big round tent.
All right, that was kind of funny, Eric. That
is kind of funny.
I like yurts. I'm staying them.
Yeah, in fact, our U.S. military uses a version of theirs bivouac tents. I mean, it's a modified version. It's not totally completely round, but it's the same basic idea behind it.
I was a river mountain guide for 5 summers all through college, and we just cowboy camped, which meant you just threw a tarp over.
Yeah,
no sides, and
go the tarp over the top. Yeah, absolutely.
Next level. Eric, Eric, our friend on text message here, is he a camper?
I don't know
if he's a camper.
I'm not sure.
We should take Eric to it.
Oh, that'd be funny. That would be funny.
Go camping with Eric at a yurt.
That would be. Now, when you were out camping, what do you think is the biggest challenge camping in the outdoors in Colorado, and what do you think is the biggest plus, just in general?
Just the water. When it rains, it just comes in hard and fast.
Oh yeah.
So if you're cowboy camping like we were, you just slept in the kitchen. So we were guides. We would take people out for a week, and they all slept in tents, and then the guides just slept in the kitchen.
Yeah.
That was awesome. So things crawled on you. It wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah. The thing for me is outside, it's the weather, because Colorado weather can change. And that is the biggest thing. Yeah. But being outdoors, the experience of waking up in the mountains is unlike anything else when you're out camping. That is something that can be life-changing. That is absolutely incredible. Yeah, I worked at and went to a camp here, Sanborn Western Camp. And so I spent, 4 or 5 days on horseback, going through the mountains, going through national parks and things like that. It's really cool. It was so much fun.
And the bugs aren't as bad here as they could be in.
Oh God, no. No, you go Midwest. Yeah, no way. Yeah. Yeah. Don't even get me started on the cicadas. I got a friend in Cincinnati that's just like, oh, we're dreading it because it's going to be 2 versions of the cicadas are going to come out at the same time. And he said, yeah. And he talks about coming out here to Colorado, and you're like, you guys have no bugs. He goes, it's ridiculous. Yep. Yeah. In fact, in is it Florida, Texas right now? They're dealing with a lot of the because of the storms, mosquitoes. Really, really, really bad mosquitoes right now because of some of the storms.
Eric was a Cub Scout and a Boy Scout.
Hey, all right.
There you go.
Good. Then you should have been in a yurt. Probably have some yurt experience.
Eric likes to goad us on the text message thread here.
Yeah. Now, when you were out doing the river guide thing and you were doing the camping, how'd you guys pack the food? How'd the food get there for you when you're feeding everybody?
We would just divide it up in the groups. So we had a kitchen.
Yeah.
And they would prepare food and they'd freeze some of it so that it would carry on throughout the week.
Okay.
And then you divide it up among the kids and the adults, and people would carry their own stuff.
Oh, so it was carrying backpacks or okay.
This was the surprise I always had. So guides didn't carry their food. The customers did. But on the last day of like a backpacking trip, when we would go near the last day, when we would summit like a 14er or something.
Oh, yeah.
I'd pull out a watermelon I'd be carrying the whole time.
No way. Oh, that's fantastic.
So I would
normally carry a watermelon.
I would carry the whole watermelon the whole time.
Oh, geez.
And one, they stopped complaining after that. But 2, I learned, like, you take kids into the backcountry. This is why it's so important to get them away from the just traditional suburban living.
Yeah.
Is I used to take like soda. I'd maybe like hike a 6-pack of soda in or something and red vines, and they didn't like it. But watermelon, they loved it. So you get them away from the candy and the crap, and they eat that fresh stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
So coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, Joshua Sharf of the Independence Institute is going to join us to give us some details on the death of the president of Iran and the ICC court. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
It's 9 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, center. And sometimes a little crazy. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So get that coffee brewing, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up here in just a second, Joshua Sharp of the Independence Institute is going to join us. Breaking news over the night. The president of Iran dies in a helicopter crash. The ICC is trying to bring criminal charges for human rights violations against Benjamin Netanyahu and the leaders of Hamas. Are we on a war path towards World War III? What does this all mean? Joshua Sharp's going to break it down for us. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olsen. Good morning, Blake.
Good morning, Jeff and Billy. 55 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the mid-70s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, wow. I wasn't expecting that. Following the Nuggets game last night outside Ball Arena, one person was injured in a collision between a car and a scooter. Officials say the victim was taken to the hospital and in critical condition. The driver of the car remained at the scene. No victory parades downtown this summer. The reigning world champion Nuggets blew a 20-point lead in the second half and shot poorly from three-point land and lose to the T-Wolves 98-90 in Game 7 of the conference semifinals. Nikola Jokic had 34 points.
It's hard because the teams are more hungrier, better, talented than last year probably. Everybody get better. Everybody wants to beat us probably.
Jamal Murray had 35. The Avalanche also lost, so both teams are finished for the season. A death investigation ongoing following the discovery of a body near downtown. Authorities found a man's body floating in the South Platte River when they arrived at the scene. Investigators haven't said if foul play is suspected, and the man's identity hasn't been released. Fort Collins police now using AI to help officers catch up on countless police reports they are required to write. Fort Collins Police Sergeant Robert Younger says it's all about time management.
My hope is that by utilizing this technology, we'll put people back out on the streets where they can talk to friends, neighbors, community members, be present, respond to calls, be engaged and proactive, and less time inside a building somewhere working on a report.
Well, Michael Cohen on the stand right now in former President Trump's campaign derailment trial. Trump in Minnesota over the weekend.
You know, this is the worst platform. Who put this stage up here? This is the worst. The freaking place is falling down. I notice it keeps tilting further left.
He's so good.
Like too many other things.
Isn't that good?
He is so good and just entertaining and lighthearted. It's fun.
He doesn't care.
No, it's true. You know, I'm known as being a pretty tough negotiator, and sometimes I get a bad rep. A contractor does a bad job. I met a lot of great contractors, but he does a bad job, I don't pay him. And then they say, Trump doesn't pay his. I pay my bills. I pay the bills so fast if they're good. But this happens to be, look, the teleprompter is useless. It fell down. I don't know why it fell down. It's not like, I don't mind. I've lost teleprompters to wind. There's no wind in here. So why the hell did it fall down? Did you see it? It fell down.
He's better without the teleprompter.
He is.
That's awesome.
And, you know, that natural charisma to just connect with people. Biden sort of had it for years. He's lost it now. But could you imagine?
I don't know about that. Listen to this, Jeff.
My name's Joe Biden, and I'm a lifetime member of the NAACP. Matter of fact, first organization I ever joined, the NAACP.
Shut up. No way.
Along with 20 others.
Whatever organization I'm at, it was the first organization I joined.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, could you imagine how fun Trump's going to be with no election to run?
Oh, my goodness.
When he doesn't have to win re-election. It's like that's when those leaders really become kind of fun and unleashed.
No doubt. And then that's where the left says he's going to take over and he'll
never leave.
He's the dictator. All right. President Ibrahim Raisi and 8 others, including Iran's foreign minister, all dead after their helicopter that they were in crashed. Raisi is the second highest ranking official in Iran. A climber was rescued after he fell 60 feet off a cliff near Loveland Saturday. The can you believe that? The Loveland Fire Rescue Authority says first responders were called to the scene near Glade Road, and the rescue took about 3 hours to complete. The climber was removed from the area and flown to a hospital. There's no word on the severity of his injury. Man, that is frightening. 52 in North Glen, 51 in Lone Tree, and 55 in Denver. NFL Hall of Famer, the original Raider, Jim Otto, has died, famous for wearing the number 00. Otto is spelled O-T-T-O, so that was perfect for him. He was 86. Jeff and Bill continue. It's the Monday Power Hour. Blake Olsen, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Here's your 710 5-day forecast. Temperatures reaching the 70s today with afternoon showers and thunderstorms likely, with some showers and thunderstorms lingering through late evening and early tonight. A few could be strong. Low 70s today, mid 40s tonight. Noticeably cooler Tuesday. Highs only low 60s with showers and a few thunderstorms lingering through Tuesday night. Warming back to near 70 for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, with a few late day showers and thunderstorms possible. I'm meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
We're going to get to Joshua Sharf here in just a little bit. Bill, do you see this official portrait of King Charles III?
Oh, yeah, the one that makes him look like Dracula from Bram Stoker's Dracula.
What in the world?
I love the fact that, again, who's the artist that did that? And so,
I looked this guy up.
Okay, describe
Jonathan Yo.
Describe to the listener what it looks like first.
Yeah, here's a great article from the New York Times. The New York Times didn't like this.
Wow.
A shock of red for a royal portrait, a new portrait of King Charles III, is bathed in symbolism, because that's really all you can pull out of it. Royal portraits, as a rule, tend to be fairly staid. Predictable affairs, full of symbolism, sure, but generally symbolism of the traditional establishment kind. Symbols of state, of office, of pomp, of lineage, which is why the new official portrait of King Charles III by Jonathan Yu, I think is how you pronounce his last name, Y-E-O, the first since the king's coronation, has created such a controversy. A larger-than-life 7.5 foot by 5.5 foot canvas. The portrait shows the king standing in his Welsh Guard uniform, hands on the hilt of his sword, a half smile on his face, with a butterfly hovering just over his right shoulder. His entire body is bathed in a sea of crimson, so his face appears to be floating. Though the butterfly was apparently the key piece of semiology, meant, Mr. Yo told the BBC, to represent Charles's metamorphosis from prince to sovereign and his long-standing love of the environment. It was the painting's primary color that almost instantaneously gave new meaning to the idea of seeing red. It was practically begging for interpretation. To me, it gives the message the monarchy is going up in flames, or the king is burning in hell. One commentator wrote it on the family's Instagram post when the portrait was unveiled. It looks like he's bathing in blood, another wrote. Someone else raised the idea of colonial bloodshed. Oof. There was comparison to the devil and so on. There was even the mention of the Tampax affair, apparently a reference to the infamous comment Charles
that's a
revealed
callback. That's
when
years.
his phone was hacked during the demise of his marriage to Diana. I don't remember that.
We are not going to discuss that in public, but I do remember that. That is an old callback. That's a really old callback to messages that he was sending to Camilla Parker Bowles at the time. Yeah. And No, not really for public consumption. We're not going to go back to that one. That is awful. I can't believe the artist. Okay, again, as an artist, I know that you have to lean into your creative spirit, but you also have to understand the audience. And I can't believe that the massive use of red, that the artist did not think about what the impression was. And the thing that I saw online that was the most fantastic was the old Bram Stoker's Dracula, that poster where it's all red and has the pale Dracula there down at the bottom, kind of looking at you and leaning at you. And then it has the title of the movie at the top of the poster. The person's like, that's what you got. You got that. You got the Bram Stoker Dracula, a picture, and just the amount of red. The other part is, yes, the prince is in his Welsh uniform, but it's washed out.
The king.
Oh, king. Sorry, yeah, but he's in the. I'm saying Prince for so long. It's so hard to get used to. He's all washed out. That is secondary. It's covered in red. Basically, his face is visible. Everything else is kind of bathed in a wash of red throughout the entire portrait, and that's really weird. That's really, really weird. I mean, he didn't think it.
I don't blame the artist for this. Yeah. I actually went and looked at the artist's work over the weekend, and it's all this stuff.
Oh, okay.
So the lunatic here is the person that hired him. It's like,
okay, I agree with that.
What were you expecting to get?
Okay.
Queen Camilla, who's been through her own ring of flames, reportedly told the artist, "You've got him."
Wow.
Oh,
that's
gosh.
awful. Good.
If you listen to Dennis Prager regularly, Dennis makes the argument that a reflection of our fall in culture is a reflection of our art. Okay. Like we have just, he's a big symphony guy. You remember he was going to, or he did conduct the Disney Symphony or the Santa Monica Symphony, and there's all this controversy. Dennis Prager, and he ended up selling it out, and it was a great experience. So he's kind of a classicist, classical music, classical paintings, and where we are in art, where people buy, what was it, like $500,000 for a banana taped to a wall?
Yeah,
just is reflective of
the idea of
the fact that our culture just rejects.
We're buying NFTs. We're idiots.
Yeah, exactly.
Really.
Exactly.
Yeah,
for about a half a second, I thought about buying an NFT because I was like, well, I get to own it. And then you're like, anybody can copy it.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Is this reflective of just a breakdown in culture? We have no standard of art anymore, of truth, of beauty, of kind of objective truth.
I can see where Prager's going. Now I'm gonna lean on Prager for a sec on the idea of, and him looking at the symphony orchestra and things like that. Do you know why, in my opinion, the symphonies have fallen off a little bit? Bad lyrics. There's no lyrics there. Can't sing along with them. So that's part of it. Yeah, thank you. But the idea is that, and there are some bands that lean into some of those more complex musical presentations. They just are doing it differently. See, I would challenge Dennis Prager to look at what Metallica did with the symphony orchestras. What were they able to do? You go to Earth, Wind, and Fire, September. If you look at how that song is produced, it is produced on a level that most symphonies do not achieve. Every single instrument in that song is tuned. They tuned the bongos.
Yes.
The bongos are playing in a certain range because of what it needs to do for the music. The other one that I would put on the table would be Tool. Incredibly complex, in fact, overly so. Musical compositions that would be incredibly difficult to pull off in a symphonic realm in some cases because of the different time changes and what they do with them. So I would challenge him on the idea. He just doesn't like the presentation of the art. But I would say that when we do have some slips in popular art and culture, things like when Two Live Crew becomes the #1 selling artists, then we got some questions. Because there I have some questions about ability to create art. So I do, and the idea of the banana taped to the wall. There's another artist.
The cross with in urine. You remember that one?
Yeah, Robert Mapplethorpe. Yeah, and the reason I remember him because my stupid last name. That's why I always remember that. And there's an artist recently in Australia that's causing problems. Australia's richest woman is asking for her portrait to be taken down out of the National Gallery because she's upset in how the artist portrayed her. Now, the artist is probably 24 different portraits, and all of them are crap. But that's the artist's presentation. It's not that he's not painting him badly. It's just he's not representing. It's not a picture. It's not a portrait. It's not what you'd assume is a Renaissance portrait. It's his interpretation of that individual, and it involves emotion. I can see, I'm not a fan of his art, but I can see where it goes. But she's mad because it makes her look like a cow.
What's with these? What's like with Barack Obama's portrait being so weird with is it just the libs that are that way?
I don't know. I think it's the idea that they want to do something different. Yeah, they wanted to do it differently and present it differently.
It looked like Homer Simpson.
Yeah, and for me, it's just I'm sorry, but it's everybody sits in the big chair and sit in the big chair and make it look like everybody else's. It's easier when you go through the.
I feel like if you're doing the official portrait, just do that. I want to talk to you about Ultra Cur. You've probably heard of other products out there for curcumin, and they require you to buy a 3-week product in order to get it. Ultra Cur believes so much in their product, they'll give it away for free because they think it'll matter that much to you. If you're experiencing pain, soreness, you want an all-natural way to deal with it, check out Ultra Cur. It's a patented non-prescription natural capsule that works fast. Experience Ultra Cur for free. Go to any Denver Metro Natural Grocers and ask for the health coach or the vitamin manager for your free 3-day trial of Ultra Cur. Ultra Cur is fueled by a patented technology to give you the true edge to support your peak wellness, energy, and active lifestyle. If you've tried everything without much success, even other natural curcumin products, you owe it to yourself to try Ultra Cur today. Head to the Natural Grocers, grab your free 3-day Ultra Cur trial, no strings attached. If you're wondering about the research, get the lowdown at getultranow.com. That's getultranow.com. I think we're still checking in to see if Joshua. We're good. All right. So overnight, 2 major news stories broke with regards to Israel, Iran. The president of Iran died in a helicopter crash. Foreign minister also killed as well. Originally, it said they experienced a hard landing, a difficult landing, but then when rescuers got there, they had passed away. Also, the ICC, the International Criminal Court, requesting warrants for both Israel's leaders and Hamas leaders. What is going on here? Are we on the verge of World War III? Joshua Sharf joins us from the Independence Institute. Joshua, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning. No, I don't think we're on the verge of World War III, but yeah, I mean, it's it's a shame. You can't even enjoy the good news long enough before the ICC thing comes out, right?
Those are strong words.
I like that. Nicely done.
You want to celebrate. You want to realize, hey, this happened on Liza Doolittle Day. You kind of want to make the whole thing a big celebration, and then the ICC has to go and ruin the party. No, so we can take these one at a time, I suppose.
Let's start with the death of the president of Iran
and the foreign minister, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, and there are reports, as yet unconfirmed, that the Iranian chief of police was shot multiple times and is also no longer with us. So there are, I suppose. I don't know what the equivalent of Kremlinologist would be. Turbinologist? I don't know. I don't know what the equivalent would be. But people who know the internal factions well enough and understand what this means for, if perhaps, listen, I mean, there are reasonable questions. This was a dam opening. It was like a ribbon cutting ceremony at a dam in what's called East Azerbaijan, and why the president and foreign minister were on the same helicopter in what appears to have been kind of dicey weather is an interesting question in and of itself. Again, it may mean nothing. It may just mean that that's the only helicopter they had available, and they were both on it. But there's that, and of course the Iranians would love to blame Israel for this. I don't know that they've done it yet. I know that it was an amusing meme that the Mossad agent Eli Copter had been was responsible for what had happened, but it just appears to have been pilot error. And so now there's an immediate succession question, which is the vice president, of course, will move up and take over. But there's a longer term succession question of the son of Khamenei, who is the supreme leader and the real power in the republic. What happens with him? I mean, does he sort of move over to the political track, and you end up, where is he now in a position to succeed with this opening? Is he now in a position to succeed his father? And then, which might make a lot of Iranians unhappy. I mean, if your selling point is that this is, all sort of divinely ordained meritocracy, and then, it turns out that what you've really done is recreate a hereditary monarchy just under another name. There might be some people who aren't so thrilled about that. So it creates some potential long-term questions. And, if the Iranian people, who apparently were setting off fireworks in celebration of this monster's death last night, this may be an opportunity for them to express their displeasure. We just don't know.
Talking with Joshua Sharp of the Independence Institute. Joshua, we always hear this kind of sense that the Iranian people aren't quite where their leaders are. I hear that the same thing about Palestinians. I'm like, well, but you guys elected Hamas. Granted, they haven't had an election in like 15 years, but is it true that Iranians aren't quite as crazy Islamists as their leaders?
Oh, yeah. This is an intensely unpopular regime. And this was an intensely unpopular president. He himself was responsible for the torture and really murder. I mean, it's not any less murder if it happens in a prison or under the color of law, of thousands of Iranians. He's the guy who has overseen the most recent wave of repression. I mean, this is an intensely unpopular president. And so most Iranians at this point are very, would rather have something else. There's even some nostalgia for the royal family, for the Shah, which is, I think, the kind of thing that sort of looks better with time, but there's a reason that people were in the streets protesting against him in the first place back in the late 70s. I think there's I think there's a sense that maybe his son wasn't him, and maybe so could there be a restoration? Probably not, but not in the same way, not in the same form. I think the Iranian people would love to be able to throw these guys off, but there's that requires someone to rally around and organization enough to be able to make that happen. I mean, none of this, from the French Revolution or the Russian Revolution to the to any of the any revolution in a major country, and Iran is a major civilization, just sort of happens spontaneously. It always takes planning and organization and leadership, and it's difficult for the Iranians inside the country to develop that.
I'm talking with Joshua Sharp of the Independence Institute. Late yesterday, the president of Iran and the foreign minister died in a helicopter accident. I'm going to ask you this question, then I'll get to you in just a second. But how does Israel capitalize on this? Think about that. I want to talk to folks just real quick about QC Kinetics. If you're tired of living with constant back pain robbing you of the joy in life, you're not alone. Back pain affects millions, impacting the quality of their life, but there's hope. My friends at QC Kinetics Denver offer regenerative medical treatments. These are non-surgical, drug-free solutions. As we age, lower back pain becomes common. From muscle strains to herniated discs, symptoms like muscle aches and shooting pain can worsen with movement. Why risk surgery when there's a safer option? With no downtime and a free consultation, QC Kinetics often provides same-day treatment. Visit my friends at QC Kinetics and revolutionize your approach to lower back pain. Give them a call, 303-900-8986. That's 303-900-8986, or visit painfreecolorado.com. That's painfreecolorado.com to schedule your free consultation, and be sure to tell them Jeff Hunt sent you. Joshua Sharp, how does Israel take advantage of this moment in Iran, the loss of its president and foreign minister in a helicopter crash?
Well, the foreign minister in this case is probably more important as far as Israel is concerned. The president is largely, though not completely, a ceremonial figure to the degree that he has any policy responsibility. It's mostly domestic. So the loss of the foreign minister may be a bigger deal in some sense. I'm not sure that it changes the overall course of things in the same way that, for instance, killing Soleimani did a few years ago when Trump did that and deprived Iran of a truly strategic regional leader and thinker. So I'm not sure. I think this is a bigger deal for internal Iranian politics, and if there's a moment when it's possible that there's something going on, I don't know. I don't know that it's possible for us on the outside to predict what this is going to mean internally for Iran. I don't think it changes the dynamic in terms of the war, at least not in the short term. The mullahs are still fully committed to the Houthis and to Hezbollah and to Hamas. That doesn't appear to have changed, and so I think and that wouldn't change. I mean, there's institutional momentum for all of that and processes in place to supply and so forth. So I don't think it has quite that same impact that you might think if it were sort of taken in isolation in a smaller country. Let's put it that way.
Joshua Sharf, tell us what the ICC warrants mean. We tracked this a few weeks ago on this show. Israel, obviously not a member of the ICC, neither is the United States. But now you do have an international criminal court, and it looks like they're trying to do both and. We're going to bring warrants against both Israel and Hamas. How does that help this situation?
Well, it doesn't. I mean, assuming that, what we all want is for Israel to win this thing and for it to be over, it doesn't help at all. It's clear that the ICC doesn't care about that, and Imran, I think is Imran Khan, is that correct?
Yes.
Has no particular interest in that. I guess there was some speculation that if he gets some really big warrants, he could reestablish the credibility of the ICC. I think for any moral person looking at this, it should just, remove whatever credibility the thing still had. Because, of course, who enforces such a warrant against Sinwar? They say, well, we're going to have a warrant against Gantz, who is Gallant, who is the Israeli defense minister, and we're going to have a warrant against Netanyahu, who's the Israeli prime minister. And then just to balance things out, we're going to have warrants against Sinwar and against Ismail Haniyeh, who is the actual head, who's the overall head of Hamas, who's hiding out in Qatar. Let's live and so that shows. See, we're being even-handed, and we're taking both sides to task for what they've done. And if you look at any moral sense, there simply is no comparison. And number two, who enforces the warrant against Sinwar? I mean, he wasn't out, he wasn't out trooping around the countries. He wasn't, out in Europe raising money for them. I mean, there's how do you enforce that warrant? Netanyahu, on the other hand, if he wants to come to the UN to speak, I guess that goes straight to the U.S. But is the UN going to let him talk? Is Gallant going to be able to go visit European countries and try and find alternative sources of weaponry if Israel needs it? I mean, it is a morally deranged approach, and it is the sort of thing that only people with an inflated sense of their own importance and self-righteousness could possibly pursue.
Joshua, what it reminded me about? Now, Joshua Sharf from the Independence Institute joining Jeff and Bill this morning, talking about the death of the Iranian president, the foreign minister, and the ICC, International Criminal Court, issuing arrest warrants for and charges against Benjamin Netanyahu, against Defense Foreign Minister to Israel, and also the leaders of Hamas. The thing that it reminds me of when you get two middle school students in the principal's office, and it's like, you two were fighting on the playground. You're both suspended. And one of the kids is like, wait, he said this about so-and-so, and he punched me in the face first. So now you're getting mad at me because I defended myself. And the student should say to the principal, well, excuse me, how many times was I supposed to allow them to punch me in the face first before I can do anything? Or am I just supposed to go with the punching? What's our choices here? And that's the problem, is they're trying to suspend both players where they're not equally responsible. And you're absolutely right. It shows the absolute abdication of moral and ethical authority by the ICC. You're absolutely right.
I mean, I don't know, other than, it's the sort of, I mean, in the best case, and let's assume just the best case scenario, which is that they're not, hateful toward Israel, and let's assume, just for the sake of argument, that they're not. It's the sort of facially morally neutral, but procedural, and it sort of ignoring the real world and what's going on, the kind of decision that you get out of bureaucracies, out of people who just completely remove themselves from any of the questions involved, seek to be procedurally neutral, and show them and want to be above the fray. Well, I got news that they're not above the fray, because this is an issue that's coming for the U.S. and it's coming for Europe too. And they can pretend that they're upholders of some sort of international norms, but we all know that right now the upholders of the international norms in that region are in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, and not in Gaza and Tehran.
You're right.
That's exactly right. The most disgusting anti-Semitism I've ever seen in my life, to the point of literally wanting to just go home and take a shower, because I had to deal with hours and hours and hours of it, was at the United Nations Human Rights Council.
Oh,
I was in the UNHCR representing persecuted Christians around the world. I used to work for an organization that did that work in Washington, D.C. and at the United Nations. And I listened to 3 hours of Muslim country after Muslim country, joining with China, joining with North Korea, who spent all day giving speeches about how terrible Israel was. That was the only work they did that day. So when I see these little international groups, you get up there and we're going to go after, human rights violations. Give me a break. You're a bunch of jokers. All right. I want to continue with Joshua Sharp here, but I got to talk to you about my friends at Mountain High Appliance. Hurry in now and check out their Get the Look sales event. Now, for a limited time, you can receive up to a $3,000 rebate with the purchase of select GE Cafe appliances. Enjoy Mountain High Appliance price match guarantee. Why go anywhere else? They'll match it. And special financing offer. See store for details and experience the difference at one of Mountain High Appliance's 4 locations in Denver at East 64th, Littleton, Louisville, and Glenwood Springs. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Rome, I'm Giles Gibson, and here are the top stories we're following. Pope Francis says priests are allowed to bless the people involved in a same-sex union, but not the union itself. The 87-year-old pontiff was speaking in a wide-ranging interview with 60 Minutes that aired on Sunday night. At the end of last year, the Pope announced that priests can give blessings to same-sex couples. That decision was strongly criticised by conservative bishops in the US and Africa. North Korea is threatening to take powerful measures against what it calls the US nuclear threat. It's denouncing Washington for holding a subcritical nuclear test in Nevada on Saturday. Chris Gilbert reports.
North Korea says the U.S. test disqualified Washington from criticizing Pyongyang's nuclear program, saying they make North Korea even more determined to enhance its nuclear weapons to, as it says, defend itself. Now, nuclear tests have technically been banned since a 1992 moratorium, but the U.S. says the subcritical tests are important for checking the safety and effectiveness of its own nuclear arsenal. Chris Gilbert in Tokyo, Salem News Channel.
And that's what you need to know this hour. I'm Giles Gibson in Rome on Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Joining us on the VIP line is Joshua Scharf from the Independence Institute. In light of the breaking news over the weekend, big news. Number one, the president of Iran and the foreign defense minister die in a helicopter crash. Number two, the ICC, the International Criminal Court, seeking to bring human rights charges against both Israel and Hamas. So we're diving into all that. If you missed any of the first part of the conversation, go to 710KNUS app to download the podcast there. I want to switch gears here, talk a little bit about Joe Biden trying to micromanage a war. Joshua, how does Israel feel about Joe Biden stepping into this?
Well, look, I mean, I've been obviously this is this is of a piece with how the left as a whole sort of operates, thinking that it knows better from a distance than the people on the ground, that it can understand and control events and stay on top of events and make sure that events don't surprise them, and that they can do all of that from a distance while something else is going on, something very different is going on the ground there. And this is a problem that we have had every time we try to get into. We've had this problem before. I'll put it that way. Now the situations have been different. I mean, Vietnam was not this. We were dealing with a much less capable, much less internally stable situation there. But this sense that we can control events and we can make sure that we can dial this up how we want and we can dial this back how we want is just unspeakably arrogant, because other people have minds of their own, and of course the enemy also always gets a vote. And we forget this, as a recent defense secretary was fond of saying. We don't control events. We can seek outcomes, and given the approach the administration has taken, the outcomes that it is seeking are not necessarily comforting.
I want to talk about what victory looks like at the end of all this. That's a big question. Obviously, I don't think a two-state solution works anymore, because you can't just have neighbors that want to obliterate you sitting there waiting for any time, like October 7th, to pop up again. So what is Israel's end goal? What does victory look like here?
That's a really good question. And I think that's one of the things that, for instance, Benny Gantz, who is one of the coalition members from outside, he's never been a Netanyahu ally, never been he's certainly not considered right wing. He's considered more centrist or of the left. But of course, the Israeli left on security issues is not what the American left is. And he has said that if there's not some post-war plan for governance, then he's out of the government, which would end in effect the unity government and return Netanyahu to a very narrow base, and really open up the possibility of, if not immediately, but eventually new elections. And he said that there has to be a plan for post-war Gaza. My own sense is that the worst thing Israel could do would be to invite in, and I know this is sort of gaining momentum here, would be to invite in the Arab countries and the U.S. and Egypt and whoever else to govern the place on an interim basis, because then you're basically surrendering. First of all, I don't think the U.S. wants any part of that, and we shouldn't. Yeah. Secondly, I think you're inviting in people that you may not ever be able to get rid of. And that's a real, because listen, I mean, if they're sitting there and Hamas, still exists in some sense, or some other radical group, begins causing trouble, you can't just do the same thing before, you hit a UN base because, they're using the UN. That's sort of nameless and faceless, and it's bureaucratic. You can't. The UAE is part of the Abrahamic Accords. They've been pretty good through this whole thing. You can't just bomb something and run the risk of killing representatives of that government or some other government that's been friendly. So that creates a real operational limitation if things go south again. My own preference would be to try to work with local leaders who I think are currently still cowed by the possibility that Hamas might make it out of this thing and reassert control. And by the way, the U.S. is, largely responsible for that impression. So
I'll ask you this question. I got to get to a read here real quick, but why not just Israel control it?
Well,
I'll give you the second to answer that in a second. Guys, for those of you with a full head of hair, congratulations. Studies show that one of the most attractive physical features is a full head of hair. Want to know the least attractive and most aging? It's hair loss. No amount of car, house, or success can make up for that thinning or balding, as it leaves the greatest lasting physical impression. It doesn't have to be that way. Advanced Hair is the quick one-day solution to your hair loss. No more expensive pills or special shampoos, just your very own natural hair guaranteed to grow. And with Advanced Hair, your new hair can grow for life. Advanced Hair has improved tens of thousands of lives, including top radio personalities across the country. Did I mention your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day? For your free consultation, call 720-459-HAIR. And if you qualify, get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Visit advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. Joshua Sharf joining us from the Independence Institute. Joshua, why not just Israel take it over and say, look, Palestinians, if you're going to continue to be violent, we're going to have a police force here. You want to govern your own country? Knock it off and show us you can be responsible people.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of could do what I think the feeling is that you don't. Israel got out in order to, Sharon got out because there was a sense that they really couldn't continue to control the place and didn't want to continue to devote the serious manpower required to do that. And I think ideally what you could do is you could find local leaders, local tribal leaders. They don't have to like Israel. They don't have to be, fans of Israel. They don't have to be friendly. What they have to do is, not want to not want to destroy the place. And that's enough. I mean, if they take governing responsibly, okay, fine. We don't have to be friends. We just don't have to be enemies. And that I think is probably the best long-term solution. I don't think you want to invite the PA in. The PA has on two separate occasions rejected offers, both in 2000 and in 2008 under Abbas, who is still currently the head of the PA. And by the way, a Holocaust denier. I will point that out as well, just sort of in passing. But they so his ideology is not quite as neutral and secular and pleasant as everyone thinks it is. They both rejected states in Gaza, the West Bank, East Jerusalem. Well, not all of the West Bank. Gaza, most of the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and then some border adjustments so that Israel would keep like large settlement blocks, but the Palestinians might get some border Arab areas inside of Israel. I don't think the Israeli Arabs are so keen on that either. They don't want to live under the PA. So I don't think giving it over to the PA is a good solution either. This is a hard answer in terms of Gaza. This is a hard answer in terms of Lebanon. That's a separate answer. Hezbollah will probably not suffer the fate of Hamas, but it could be pushed back enough that it could cease to and certainly get them out of the government to the point where they can't blackmail the government anymore. I think that would what victory in the north would look like. As far as the Houthis go, the unpleasant answer here is that the address for them, as well as the address for the others, is in Tehran.
Tehran, yeah.
I mean, I don't want to. Israel can't bomb them, and I'm not sure. And again, I don't think the U.S. wants to get directly involved in bombing, say, civilian targets there. But there are military targets that could let the Iranians know to cut it out, and that's the address for that one. So.
Wow. Joshua Sharf giving us analysis on breaking news over the weekend. The president of Iran, the foreign minister of Iran, dying in a helicopter crash. And then the International Criminal Court also bringing essentially warrants against leaders of Israel and Hamas, breaking this all down for us. Thank you for helping us understand what's going on.
Yeah,
continuing to follow this. Appreciate you so much. Joshua Sharf, Independence Institute.
Thank you very much, guys. It's always fun.
All right. I want to talk to you a little bit about good dentist. Believe me, guys, I've had pretty much everything done to my teeth that you can imagine. It's a genetic issue for me. And so I know good dentists. Dr. Mike at Rocky Mountain Dental Group, great dentist. He helps people like you and me feel and look amazing by providing the best dental care available. You can see for yourself all the 5-star reviews at RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. Here's one. Do yourself a favor, go there. Staff goes beyond expectations, and they provide excellent service, affordable, friendly, reasonable, gentle, careful, and kind service. And if you're experiencing recession on your upper or lower gums, that happens to us as we get older, especially if you have braces later in life, ask Dr. Mike about the groundbreaking procedure called pinhole gum rejuvenation technique, a treatment option for those experiencing receding gums. It's scalpel-free, suture-free, and a graft-free procedure. Just a tiny pinhole and a gentle repositioning of the gums. Visit RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. That's RockyMountainDentalGroup.com, or call 303-233-1335 for a free consultation. 303-233-1335. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. An absolutely fire show today as we hosted the sheriff from Laramie County that's running that billboard recruiting Denver Police Department up to Wyoming. He joined us. Laura Pretty, the executive director of Monarch Montessori. There's two little girls, black girls, down at the city council testifying, getting shouted down by some anonymous person on Zoom. Very powerful interview in the 8 o'clock hour. People texting in, tears in their eyes, and we're trying to help them out and get the yurt that they're trying to build. So if you missed that, go to 710KNUS for the podcast there. And then Joshua Sharf joined us as well. Absolutely great show. I want to talk to you real quick about Dan Caplis Law. Dan, I've known for years. He's pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. Not only does he share our values, he's one of the top lawyers in the state. So if you're in trouble, you want that guy next to you. He's believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. He's also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. If you need Dan's help, give him a call, 303-770-5551, or hit dancapleslaw.com. That's dancapleslaw.com. We'll be back tomorrow. It continues. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.